You are listening to KC Sports Network, the #1 podcast network for today's Kansas City sports fans. With former players from your favorite teams, informed perspectives, and former insiders, this is the place for you. You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts, or on our YouTube channel, all over social media, or our morning newsletter, KCSN Daily, dedicated to your Kansas City Chiefs. KC Sports Network is proudly presented by Emprise Bank, your partner in possible.
From the beginning, we knew right away that we wanted to do strength conditioning and a throwing program for the baseball and softball community. It wasn't something we were trying to back into or all of a sudden learn. We knew we were really good at coaching these skills from the get-go. And the fact that we're in the same business and the employees are all on the same page, we can write a program based off of what a kid needs, not just getting him stronger or faster from a general sense. It's what does this kid need? On the pitching end, we can say, hey, this kid needs such and such. He needs to do this or that better. A lot of times it turns out it's not something that needs to be fixed in the baseball cage or on the throwing mound. It actually needs to be fixed in the weight room.
Welcome into the Royals Farm Report / KCSN live MLB Draft coverage. My name is Alex Duvall. I am joined tonight by one of my co-hosts on the RFR podcast, Josh Keiser. Joshua, how are we doing tonight?
Doing splendid. This is a dream, literally a dream come true to do this kind of coverage. I don't know how I got here or why I'm here, but by God, I'm here. So I'm very into it.
As one Kent Swanson would say, do cool stuff with your friends. And that is what we are doing out here at the Kingdom Bar and Grill, live in Overland Park, covering the Major League Baseball draft for you guys. There is all kinds of Major League Baseball draft coverage, but one of the things that we talked about is the need for Royals-specific draft coverage. You watch the MLB Draft live on TV, and they talk about the Royals pick for 30 seconds, and bang, they're on to the next guy. If you get 30 seconds. Last year, Salvador Perez, home run derby, they talked about Pete Alonso the entire time. So here we are, live Royal-specific draft coverage. The draft will begin in about 5 minutes. Really quick, Josh. For 5 minutes, what I want to do is talk about the Royals farm system. Here I have pulled up our preseason top 50 prospect rankings from the Royals system. Bobby Witt Jr., number 1. MJ Melendez, number 2. Nick Prado, number 4. Vinny Pasquantino, number 7. Angel Zerpa, number 8. Let's move up the list. Michael Garcia, number 14. Jonathan Heasley, number 15. Michael Massey, number 16. All of those guys. Oh, and Dylan Coleman at number 18. All of those guys in our top 20 have now had Major League Baseball experience. And in some capacity, Michael Garcia will still be on there. But a lot of these guys are not going to be on our midseason list, which means you have almost half of our preseason top 20 that's going to need to be replaced at some point in the next year or so. You've got the trade deadline, and tonight you've got the Major League Baseball amateur draft. Josh, really quick, whoever they draft at number 9 is almost definitely going to slot into number 20. It would be almost impossible for them to draft someone at number 9. And if they do, I'll just walk off stage. If they're that bad that they can't make the top 20, I will leave. It's not going to happen. At number 49, you're likely going to get another player to slot into the top 20. What I'm looking at is a system that came into the 2022 season very strong and is going to leave it a little bit weaker unless they can kill the draft and kill the trade deadline. What is your take on tonight and how this affects their midseason rankings?
Well, 100% right off the bat, we're losing depth. All that graduating stuff is going to make the system look super bare. And one of my favorite things about covering the Royals farm system this year is being able to throw on the Storm Chasers game and seeing Pasquantino, seeing Prado, seeing dudes that are more or less appointment television. And then throwing on a Northwest Arkansas Naturals game and seeing particular guys. Those guys some of them are not going to be there. They're going to be seeing prime time on the MLB stage. And it's just going to be a different and less, I guess, sexy is probably the right way to put it. So I need a little bit more depth. I would love a little bit more of the top end ceiling to be able to, throw them all my hopes and dreams as a Royals fan that we live and die on, to throw them on some certain dudes. And tonight is where it is. And we got to throw our sponsor KCSC into the mix here. they are kind of making this possible. Absolutely KCSN as well, but having that sponsor, being able to afford and find the money and the reason. Sometimes these players are not fun to watch, and that paycheck always helps. So it is, we need to give them a shout out. And if you have any baseball players or softball players in the area, Alex, you always talk about your coaching experience and stuff. But if anybody in the KC area has a baseball, softball player they want to get to that next level, go with KCSC.
I've got a kid right now who I've sent out there, and he is reaping the benefits of that pretty quickly. So it's not just a sponsor. It worked out that it's a sponsor.
Yeah.
But Kansas City Strength and Conditioning is the best place to send your kid if you want them to throw harder, hit further, be more flexible, be a better athlete. There's not a better place. Kansas City Strength and Conditioning at home field in Olathe. All right, we are going to throw up. Josh and I have both come up with wish lists for this year's draft. So at number 9, we have Brooks Lee. I don't know how realistic that is, but Brooks Lee is my number 1 with a blend of realism and opportunity. If you can get Brooks Lee to fall to number 9, I think he slots in as your top prospect immediately. Same thing with Jace Young. Jace Young, second baseman out of Texas Tech. I think if you draft Jace Young, he is your top prospect immediately, considering we're probably not going to have Nick Prado at our midseason rankings. Yep. I mean, he may be prospect eligible, and he will be, but he's a guy we typically take out once they've just proven they're number 1. At number 3, I've got Chase DeLauder. Chase DeLauder, I think, is your top prospect, but you could go either way. Here's my write-up from him from the draft guide. If you haven't got your copy of the draft guide yet, RoyalsFarmReport.com. It's $3.49. Best Royals Pacific draft coverage you're going to get. I promise. Head on over there. I've also got Jacob Berry, the first baseman / hitter out of LSU, and then Drew Gilbert out of Tennessee. I tweeted it earlier today. If the Royals want to save money and get a college bat, look no further than Drew Gilbert. There's no reason for them to need to take a pitcher at number 9. There's no reason to take a prep player at number 9. You want to save money. You want to get a great bat. Take Drew Gilbert. He's a center fielder, a spark plug, a firecracker, if you will. There are so many of those baseball adjectives that fit Drew Gilbert. He is the perfect thing for what they're looking for, and they're not going to do it, but they should. Drew Gilbert, number 5 on my personal wish list. Let's pop up Josh's wish list real quick. Josh, walk us through it.
I mean, number 1 with a bullet. I've been talking about, you listen to the podcast, you know how jacked up I am about Elijah Green, the absolute freak athlete. I want him to be able to be this franchise's Luis Robert or Ronald Acuna. Just give me that staple center fielder, outfielder type. I don't care where he goes. He's a freak athlete. He can fit anywhere he wants to. Plus, great dude. We know Dayton Moore loves great dudes. He loves to turn these young kids, quote unquote, into good men, good fathers. I feel like Elijah Green's already got that base that Dayton Moore is looking for in Piccolo as well. Jace Young also on my list. I want that, that pillar hitter, the second base. I would love it if he could go over to third base and be that dude. I'm into that. Jacob Berry, same kind of thing. You've already covered him. Great hitter. Going to be ready soon, so he can get this wave that's kind of on the doorstep right now and kind of getting in the doorway now. Getting them some firepower and get some reinforcements in on them soon would be great. I love me some Brock Jones. I feel like he can absolutely handle any of those outfield positions as well. Kind of got a great profile on the bat as well. And then Kumar Rocker. When I made this list, I wanted a little bit of underslotting, and that may have changed with that Drew Waters trade. That might be a little bit less likely, but I would love to get them to take a shot on Kumar Rocker, underslot him, give him basically whatever we want to give him at that point, and then go find some of these awesome high upside prep arms that they can potentially get on 149. We'll see.
It certainly looks like the Royals are trying to find an underslot deal they love. And really what it's going to boil down to tonight is, do they go chalk and do they try to find the best college bat available, pay him around slot, which is about $5.2 million, and then roll from there? Or are they going to try to go and get a Cade Horton, a right-handed pitcher, a sophomore from Oklahoma? Are they going to try to find a prep deal with Brandon Barriera, with Brock Porter? Are they going to try to find a high school bat and a Justin Crawford? Or do they go chalk? And I think what I've maintained for a while now is, in my heart of hearts, I think they're going to go chalk.
Yep.
But there have been so many rumors about so many different underslot deals. It just feels to me like they're fishing.
Yeah.
Like, hey, is anybody willing to take 3.5? Is anybody willing to take 4? Because if we can get it at 3.5, okay, maybe we'll go there. But I really believe in Royals fans, bear with me, but I really believe it's going to be a chalk. It's going to be Gavin Cross. It's going to be Jacob Berry. If we can get Jacob Berry past Miami at number 6, Jacob Berry might be a Kansas City Royal later tonight. If it was up to you, Josh, I know that the underslotting isn't super sexy among a lot of Royals fans. Are you okay with it if they go under slot?
It's going to depend on who they get with the overslot. I want high end out of this draft. No matter what, I want ceiling. I want this new hitting, regime or development kind of approach. I want them to have some horses. You've talked about it on the podcast a lot. Give these guys not just horses, but give them stallions and turn them into Clydesdales. I don't know horses, but I don't think that's a development path. But I'm just saying they could turn these monsters and these guys with this risk that a lot of people are kind of averse to, turn them into monsters at the plate. And give me some of that high upside bat that we desperately need. Who knows what happens to these pitchers in the next coming years, but you can always rely on the hitters. And if you can score 8 runs a game, I'm into it. So give me all the upside that you can possibly give me. I don't care about depth at this point. Just give me upside to bolster this. And we need to, speaking of upside, there's some upside going on with our giveaway going on right now. $20 per chance or $100 for 8 raffle tickets gets you a chance at 4 lower level Royals tickets there in the Diamond Club, or a signed Alex Gordon jersey, the boy Gordo. Got his name in the building right here. And we've got a Bobby Witt Jr., the hopes and the dreams of the Royals franchise. His hands touch this ball. Could be yours. $20 gets you a raffle ticket, goes to our RBI program, Royals RBI program, and the KCSN Foundation, so we can kind of keep the ball rolling on these fundraisers. But just go get your chances to own some of this awesome Royals memorabilia, and you can do it by donating to the KCSN Venmo.
We've also got 4 lower-level tickets to any Royals game, almost any Royals game for the rest of the season. That Venmo, again, is at KC Sports Network. If you Venmo them $20, you get 1 ticket. You Venmo $100, you're going to get 8 tickets into the raffle. And I told BJ earlier, so BJ's going to keep track of the Venmo for us. The MLB Draft is going to begin here in about 5 minutes, it looks like, before they make the first pick. If we can raise another $500 in raffle tickets between now and the Royals pick at number 9, I'm going to throw in a couple Diamond Club tickets. So make sure you're paying attention. The Venmo is at KC Sports Network. That money's going to go to the Boys and Girls Club of Kansas City, as well as the KCSN Foundation. So a lot of good causes going to be helped out by this raffle. Again, an Alex Gordon autographed jersey, a Bobby Witt Jr. autographed baseball, 4 lower-level tickets. And if we can raise an additional $500 between now and the Royals pick at number 9, I'm going to throw in, we're going to have a couple of Diamond Club tickets to give away as well.
Probably need to also mention that this isn't like the NFL draft. These picks they're gonna get time, but it's not going to be 15 minutes in between each pick. So get it going. Let's get this momentum rolling.
Okay, Josh, the number 1 pick is coming up here in just a little bit. Earlier today, we reported at Royals Farm on Twitter that it looked like Termarr Johnson is going to be the number 1 pick. And as of like 20 minutes ago, he was by far the favorite on Bovada to go number 1 overall. Baltimore recently has had a run of drafting college bats under slot with their first pick. Termarr Johnson is not a college bat per se. However, he is a very advanced high school bat, and I think that actually goes along pretty well with what Baltimore is going to want to do.
Yep.
Here's why I bring up Baltimore at the first pick. If they take Termarr Johnson at number 1, which I firmly believe they're going to do, that means that Elijah Green, Drew Jones, and Jackson Holliday are not going number 1. It means Brooke Lee's not going number 1. And it really, the biggest thing with this is Termarr Johnson looked like he was either going to go number 1 or like number 6.
Yeah.
So now you have a guy from outside the top 5 entering the top 5. Somebody's got to fall. All it takes now is one more guy, a Zach Neto, shortstop out of Columbia, a Chase DeLauder, a Drew Gilbert, a Brock Porter. All it takes is one guy to jump ahead of the Royals at number 9, and you're going to have your pick of what could be a very interesting assortment of hitters. So I want to get your take on this. If it's not Zach Neto, who do you think is the other guy that could jump into the top 8, firmly place themselves above Kansas City, and allow an Elijah Green to fall to KC at number 9?
We've talked about him a lot, and I kind of immediately jumped to Cam Collier because it seems like he is the dude. Like he left high school or got into like the best JUCO baseball program that he could have gotten into, kind of like a la Bryce Harper did. That tells me that dude wants to be a professional baseball player, and that's the kind of stuff that I feel like orgs absolutely stumble over themselves to go get. So I feel like Cam Collier, the profile's there. They have a lot to work with, a lot of raw upside, a lot of ceiling as well. So I feel like that's the dude that could potentially be the guy, checks a lot of boxes, and be the profile, and be the guy that could be taking franchise to the next level. What do you think?
I think Cam Collier is that guy. I also think there's an outside shot that Jackson Holiday falls.
Yeah.
And here's the thing with Jackson Holiday. If he gets to the Royals at number 9, you're not going to probably be able to sign him. He wants a lot of money. He's got family that coaches at Oklahoma State. His dad made a lot of money playing big league baseball.
He did.
There's a weird chance that Jackson Holiday is there. And I think if Jackson Holiday gets to number 9, the Royals need to look at their board and go, okay, what can we do to try to sign this guy?
Yep.
And I'm not really sure they're going to have it. Their bonus pool is down under $10 million now that they've traded pick 35.
Yep.
But when you trade a pick like that, you put yourself in a position to not be able to afford the guy that falls, right? And so it's a really weird situation they're in. Prospects Live updated their mock draft just a little bit ago, and they actually had Elijah Green falling past Kansas City because of that. When the Royals traded pick 35, I loved it because I thought, okay, they're going to go chalk. I think what I didn't think about is their inability to maybe sign that guy that falls.
Yeah.
But anyway, Cam Collier, Jackson Holiday, probably going to be there. Quick reminder, we are now out at the Kingdom Bar and Grill in Overland Park. If you are looking for a place to get dinner, watch the draft, and check out our live show, head on out. Kingdom Bar and Grill in Overland Park is where we're at.
127th and Antioch. Got to give him a shout out as well.
127th and
That's
Antioch.
where we are currently. Yeah.
Yeah, you know I'm young and dumb when I just put the address in my phone and I just show up.
100%.
My dad be like, where are you going? I don't know. It's in the GPS.
That's how I actually got
to
to this show, is I just like shoved it into the GPS, and here I am on stage. It's a story of my life. We should point out that Baltimore, I believe, is now on the clock. 2 minutes left with their pick, so we are right there at the doorstep to get the ball rolling.
I was thinking about this earlier, and before Baltimore makes their pick, and kind of going back to the farm system really quick, Nate Eaton played 4 games in center field for the Royals.
Sure did, man.
The round that he went in is no longer a round in the Major League Baseball draft. I really hope we get back to a point where we can add more rounds to the draft. I don't know that we'll ever see it.
Yeah. But
think about a Nate Eaton out of the Virginia Military Institute, a 21st round pick. I remember I brought Joel, who isn't with us tonight, but I brought Joel on to write for us at Royals Farm Report. And maybe the first article he ever wrote was about how Nate Eaton was hitting so well in the Pioneer League for the Idaho Falls Chuckers. And now Nate Eaton is getting big league run in center field. It's kind of crazy how things work out sometimes. Now Joel has been my co-host for like 4 years on the podcast. So Nate Eaton, again, that round no longer exists. But I was looking earlier at guys who could be that. And this may not be a great example because Jacob Mizorowski has skyrocketed up boards. But coming into the year, Jacob Mizorowski was going to be maybe a starter in the Crowder College rotation. Definitely going to be a big piece of the bullpen. He ended up starting. And I think I saw that Fangraphs had him as their number 24 prospect this morning on their big board. Jacob Mizorowski is a Grain Valley High School graduate. He ended up going down to Crowder after the COVID year kind of messed up with his senior year. So he dropped his commitment to Oklahoma State. He winds up at Crowder. Now he has a chance to be a first-round pick. He's definitely going to be picked here in the first 3 rounds probably, and he is electric. Big kid, long kid, really good spin rates, huge fastball, huge slider, touches 100 miles. I mean, the kid is unbelievable. He kind of, I don't want to say it out loud, gives me Jacob deGrom vibes.
No. Oh, no. What did you just do?
He does. Jacob deGrom wasn't an all-star till he was 26, 27 years old. I'm telling you, man, I was looking back for the next Nate Eaton, right? The next Michael Massey, who's going to be that late pick that turns into an all-star. I'm like, this Jacob Mizorowski kid. So maybe that's who the Royals are trying to underslot or trying to go over slot for at 49. Maybe when they end up making a pick at number 9 that I don't like, we'll circle back to Jacob Mizorowski at 49 and go, you know what? Okay.
And I'll remind you, we just drafted the next Jacob deGrom. I'll be happy to just throw that right back on your shoulders and be like, this guy right here to my left thinks Mizorowski might be Jacob deGrom. So, is it right? Oh.
Yeah, you're right. Oh, there's a –
Oh, it's a great point. Great question.
That is a great question. So it used to be in June. It used to be that the draft was held right before or right during the College World Series. And so what you would have is you have the best college baseball players on earth. They get drafted in the middle of a game. They're not even able to attend the draft, or they get drafted at night and they got to go on the bump the next morning. And it was just a mess. And so what they did is during the COVID year in 2020, they tried to move the draft into the College World Series and move them together. So now what they're doing instead is they have the MLB Draft and the All-Star Game festivities kind of together. And what it does is it allows college players to go on the Cape for a month.
Yep.
The Cape Cod League, the most prestigious summer league. It allows them to participate in the Draft Combine and the MLB Draft League. And so it really has helped college players finish their season and then get ready for the draft, similar to like college football and the NFL draft. So very much a good thing for what has become of the MLB Draft. But that is why it is held in the middle of the season. That's a very good question.
Yep. And welcome to baseball following, by the way. We're great to have you.
Absolutely. So
probably need to talk over the draft order, see what I think the Baltimore pick is in. I'm seeing that, and I believe I saw him walk to the stage already. But Baltimore at 1, Arizona Diamondback at 2, Texas Rangers at 3, Pittsburgh Pirates at 4, Washington Nationals at 5. That's who we're going to have. And then the Royals are, of course, at 109 this year.
Did they announce that Tamar Johnson is officially the first overall pick?
That's who I saw headed to the stage.
I saw that as well. So there's the commish. Gotta love him.
Do you think the Darth Vader walk-up music is what he's walking up to now?
I will tell you, it is like watching Roger Goodell at these appearances now. It is like refreshing that he claps.
Eats it up.
Thumbs up. Like he has absolutely no shame anymore. So
first time I ever really saw that was Stern for the NBA. He would just eat that right up, man.
Did that say Jackson Holliday? Jackson Holliday is the first overall pick to the Baltimore Orioles. You talk about so what I was talking about earlier is Jackson Holliday wants a ton of money. One of the only teams able to give him that money is the Baltimore Orioles. Yep. The nice thing about Jackson Holliday, and as it relates to the Royals, is he was never going to be there at 9.
Yep.
Like the only way he was going to get there at 9 is if somebody couldn't pay him. The Royals certainly were not going to be able to pay him. It looks like they're comparing him to Brandon Crawford, which, I mean, whatever. So very talented shortstop, Stillwater High School in Oklahoma, an Oklahoma State commit. So sorry, Joel. I told him this morning I thought there was a 25% chance that Jackson Holliday did not sign and wound up on campus.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out the 75% will take over. Jackson Holliday is going to be the next member of the Baltimore Orioles farm system.
Of course, man. Playboy J.A. Playboy J.A. Thank you for submitting the question, dude. That's good stuff.
That is the most stupidest. That is the most stupidest way to say that. Yeah, no, just kidding. Most stupid. I don't know.
It's a man after my own heart there. Yeah, and there's the other kid's stud, and that's out of all the scouting reports I read on him, I could not find a red flag. Like his athletic profile, we talked to Mason McCray the other night, and he said the only thing that kind of sends up a red flag about him was his athletic profile. He's a shortstop. That could mean a lot of different things on a pro level, but a shortstop in the prep league, could turn into anything. So I feel like athletic profile, if that's what you're throwing at him, then you got a pretty safe profile, I think.
Here's a little bit of our write-up. Who wrote him up? Joel. Joel did, an Oklahoma State commit, so that's appropriate. From the 2022 RFR draft guide, the power is mostly pull side, but he certainly has an opportunity for it to be to all fields as he gets older and stronger. We've seen Matt Holliday, right? Matt Holliday is a giant human being. If his son becomes anything like that, he's going to have a hard time sticking at shortstop. What he's going to have.
100%. But I did see the scouting reports also said he's the best shortstop defender in this draft class. So it's depending on who you ask about that, but I mean, it is what it is.
That's one of the things that I think we sometimes mix up with the draft. And anyway, I think like Josh Kasevich, Zach Neto, like if you're talking about the best shortstop among the prep guys with a big bat, maybe.
Yeah.
But I don't even know if he's going to be able to maintain it there long term. Unless he's going to go Carlos Correa and be a 6'6" shortstop or O'Neal Cruz. But anyway, check out the RFR draft guide, RoyalsFarmReport.com. 7 more picks until we get ready for the Royals pick at number 9. You got time. $3.49. It'll be the best $3.50 you ever spend. Skip your meal at McDonald's this week. Buy the draft guide instead, and I promise it'll be worth your $3.49. Here we go with the number 2 pick, the Arizona Diamondbacks, rumored to love Andrew Jones. It's easy to understand why.
Yep.
You've already got Jordan Lawler in the system last year. Corbin Carroll is ascending his way through the system.
He's a rocket ship, man.
Yes.
Unbelievable.
And if they can get Drew Jones here, what you're going to have is a farm system with Drew Jones, Alec Thomas, Jordan Lawler, Corbin Carroll, and the Diamondbacks are really going to be building on something. Sneaky pick here, I think. Look out for Elijah Green. I know we keep seeing all the other guys, but Elijah Green, I don't understand the need to like pass on the most talented player in this draft, in my opinion.
Yep.
Does he have a lower floor than everybody else? Yes. But if you're the Diamondbacks, you have the system you have. Go get this guy. This is the guy I would be taking if I were them. I believe that's who we mocked to the Diamondbacks in the draft guide. It's probably going to be Drew Jones here. That seems to be the consensus opinion. If I were the Diamondbacks, I'd be taking a long look at Elijah Green.
And it's weird that, I mean, what an embarrassment, Richard. I know you're the second pick or whatever, but you have your pick of Drew Jones and Elijah Green at this point, potentially the 2 highest ceilings in this draft. As long as you take one of those guys, you get them on the roster, you're able to sign them, you can't lose with that. That's just phenomenal drafting. You've won. You've done as good as you can do.
And I think the thing to remember with this is, like, it is rare. It is super rare for these guys to not sign.
Yep.
I know Kamar Rocker didn't sign. A few years ago, there's a kid named Brady Aiken who did not sign, and then he kind of disappeared. I think
Appel, a while ago.
Yeah, you're right. He didn't sign the first year he was drafted. The next year he goes number 1 overall.
Yep.
We've seen guys bet on themselves before. That generally doesn't happen. So if Jackson Holliday is going number 1, and if Elijah Green were to go number 2, a lot of times what's different about this in the NFL draft is they've worked a deal out beforehand.
Yep.
So very rarely in baseball does the board fall just in terms of how teams think they are as a player, because they can negotiate their signing. Jackson Holliday can say, give me $8 million or I'm going to Oklahoma State.
Yep.
In the NFL, you don't really have that luxury. So keep that in mind as the board falls here, that it is very likely that the 1, 2, and 3 picks are not the number 1, 2, and 3 most talented players in the draft.
Yep.
So just keep that in mind as we go here.
They can go and improve their stock and improve their draft stock and potentially their money if they go back to school. But if you're in the top 3 already, you're not going to improve it much more. We've got to go back to the wish list here.
Yeah, so Jackson Holliday didn't make either of our wish lists, I don't think.
I think it was more realistic, right?
Yeah. The realistic possibility he was going to get there was never very high.
Yep.
Brooks Lee still on the board. Jace Young still on the board. I think a lot of the guys on my wish list are going to be here for 4 or 5 picks. You actually had Elijah Green on yours.
Which was a stretch, but with all the rumors and stuff, it sounded like there was potential for it to happen. So I'm going to look for any excuse I can to throw him and put his name out of my mouth as much as I can.
One thing we're going to do a lot of for the next 7 picks is talk about Elijah Green. This is basically going to be the Elijah Green watch for the next 7 picks or so.
And then we could just pack it in whenever he goes and just
if he goes number 4 overall.
Sorry, guys. Yeah. Show over.
Really quick, want to give another shout out to Kansas City Strength and Conditioning. Also, Tickets for Less. If you're planning on catching the Royals after the All-Star break when they return home for their first series against Tampa. No, are they in Tampa Bay? They're in Tampa Bay, and then they come home eventually. I don't know. Whenever they come home, if you're looking for Royals tickets, ticketsforless.com, KCSN 22. What do I think is going to happen with O'Neal Cruz? I don't know. He is way too talented to not let play for a long time. He's going to be a fine defensive shortstop. He's going to hit for power. He's so big that as professional big league pitchers start to adjust with him, I think he's going to take a little bit longer to make those adjustments because his strike zone's so big. There is so many – like, think about that from a logistical standpoint. O'Neal Cruz versus Jose Altuve. Jose Altuve's got to hit pitches in that big of a zone. O'Neal Cruz's zone is like this big. Like, there is so many more pitches that he's going to have to adjust to that major league pitcher is going to be able to throw. So I really believe he'll be fine. Best college bat in this draft. If we're just talking about bat, Jace Young.
Yep.
Just the hitter, I think, is Jace Young.
And I'm a big Ivan Melendez as well, the Hispanic Titanic. I mean, he's first base profile, probably DH. Those guys are usually pretty low in the first round. But if you're talking about just the batting profile, it's hard not to go with him.
Jace Young, you can see him up on the board from the RFR draft guide as, again, one of my write-ups. Jace Young is my favorite player that I think will be available for the Royals. And I think that the knock on him is his defensive home. Yeah. He's not nearly as bad defensively as like a Jacob Berry. He's a better athlete. I think he'll be okay in left field. He is on both of our wish lists. I think that's the best college hitter. If I were the Royals, I'm not overthinking it. Draft Jace Young, put him in high A, let him hit. We'll worry about the defense on the fly. Which
is not this organization's MO. They have absolutely prided themselves on the defensive profile, the super athlete with tools, tooled up. I mean, that's the usual MO for this organization. That's why it's hard to be able to jump on board with a Jace Young or a Berry, but it could also kind of show some kind of new direction with him as well. And I mean, he is the horse that we're talking about, wanting to be thrown into this wave of prospects that's on the doorstep. He would be an absolute monster to bring on and bring in this organization. Like you said, who cares about where he plays defensively? We've got plenty of dudes out there that can absolutely make up for some of the lack of defensive zone or whatever you want to call it. I feel like that would be a signal for a different direction as an organizational philosophy if they went those two guys.
Here comes Rob Manfred. He's about to announce the second overall pick to Arizona. I'm assuming it's going to be Andrew Jones.
Don't break my heart. Don't break my heart, Rob.
Any last-second gambles here, Josh?
No. I feel like it would be high upside prep. It makes sense to kind of stagger the way that they've got going. Drew Jones, there you go.
There it is.
Yep.
Andrew Jones will be an Arizona Diamondback. That is a farm system on the rise. Yep. Andrew Jones, Corbin Carroll, Jordan Lawler, like we said. Jordan Lawler, by the way, is the guy I wanted for the Royals at number 7. He ended up going number 6 to Arizona. That farm system is on the rise. I know the Diamondbacks haven't been that great this year, but if you're looking for a team to kind of surprise some people in 2025 and come out of nowhere, I'd be on the Arizona Diamondbacks bandwagon right now. It's a really good pick by them, and pretty lucky that they were able to get Drew Jones when Holiday went number 1.
And it's also, I like the I guess the approach there, because we talked about it last year with all the prep players that the Royals went with last year. They're kind of rebuilding that next wave, and I like that being able. It would be better if you're stacking it and not just making wave nothing. Staggering that talent in there. You're not relying on one wave. You're not putting all your eggs in one basket. It is kind of like a smart approach, in my opinion. Speaking of smart approaches, if you like what you're seeing, we've got tons of content at KCSN. Chiefs, Jayhawks, Royals, K-State Wildcats. There's plenty of more shows coming up in this fall, but go ahead and like, subscribe, do it on YouTube, do it wherever you get your podcasts. KCSN's where our podcast lives. We appreciate them doing it. And speaking of doing it and appreciating, we've got some guests joining us for a couple minutes here. What's up, guys?
Not much. Getting to be real close friends here.
Yeah, I know, right?
For anybody unfamiliar, on the screen, it is right. This is Marcus Mead, and over there to Josh's left is Mike Mead. They are the hosts of the Royals Weekly podcast. Marcus has been writing for us at Royals Farm Report for a long time. Wrote up a great piece in that 2020 draft about, that was 2019 draft, was the Brady McConnell piece. Yeah. Obviously, that didn't end up working out the way we thought it would.
My heart. The idea was still good. The
Yes.
process was good. Results not good.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to talk about a lot tonight with the draft is process and results, scouting and development. And the trickiest part is to judge, did the scouting department do their job during the draft and the development fail, or vice versa? But sometimes these picks don't work out, and we look at it 10 years later and go, man, the Royals made a mistake drafting Bubba Starling. Did they make the mistake drafting Bubba, or did they make mistakes developing Bubba? So that's what we're going to be looking for moving forward. But part of that is why you draft college players, is there's less room for error. Marcus, if there's a college bat on the board, who is your favorite, and is that the direction that the Royals should definitely be going number 9?
At 9, that sort of depends on who the college bat is. If by some miracle, and I'm praying that this happens, Brooks Lee makes it to 9, then absolutely you take that college bat, because that college bat is maybe the best college bat, maybe the best bat in this draft, with the great hit tool that he has, with the power to all fields, with the ability to play probably an elite or near elite third base. I don't think he's going to stick it short. So if that college bat's there at 9, then absolutely you take it. But I don't think you pass up on these prep bats either. I mean, there are other great college bats that could be there. You love Jace Young, I know, or Jace Young. He's a great college bat there. And then guys like Gavin Cross, who we were just talking about this before we walked on here. I know you have a sort of you're not real high on him as a college bat.
No, I'm not. And it's partially because I think there's some limited power potential in guys like Gavin Cross. And at 9, I want a guy that's going to be able to produce some power numbers. So I'd be more of a fan of Jacob Berry even at 9. Maybe Chase DeLauder even at 9, although I think maybe his power potential may be somewhat limited. I don't think it is as much as Gavin Cross. So I know Gavin Cross will give you a competent right field and probably above that at right field. And he is a good athlete. But I just don't think that you're going to take a guy at 9 that's going to have that limited power potential when you've got guys there. And you and I have talked about this some in interviews. The Royals can't pay for power on the open market. They just can't do it. And so you have to be able to draft and develop power. And I think that's going to be important at 9. Whether that's from a guy who maybe falls, a high school guy that falls, or a college guy. You know, I like Jace Young as well.
We got Travis Shipley asking where we think Gavin Cross will go.
We
kind of hard to predict.
Spoiler alert: we mocked him to the Royals at number 9 in our draft guide. So if you haven't bought your draft guide yet, please go on there. Does that say Texas just drafted Kumar Rocker?
I saw somebody put in there that Passon said that Kumar was going to go.
Is that official?
That is official.
Oh my.
We were just talking about the
Drake is off camera. He just said to us like 20 seconds ago, Drake's like, I think this draft is going to be a wild one. I think it's going to be weird. He was right about that already in 3 picks in.
Well, and I said it was going to go bonkers at 2. It held all the way to 3.
Held all the way to 3.
We literally just got done. The last segment was if there's a guy that jumps into the top 9 and shakes things up, who's it going to be? And nobody said Kumar Rocker. What is going on? Okay, so we just talked about floor and ceiling and scouting and development. You better trust your scouts. And you better trust your medical team.
Because the word on the street is, of course, some sort of arthritis, right? Like that's the sort of rumors that get to thrown around and that sort of thing. And if that's the case, what is the limit on the length of his career? Right? Now, of course, if you're the Rangers drafting him, you really don't have to worry about that because he's one contract in. If he's good enough for you, he might be gone anyway. And so the first team taking him really doesn't have to worry about how long his career might be. You're getting a guy who looks like he's going to move real quickly through the minor leagues, who your pitching development can turn into maybe a front of the rotation kind of guy, and if not, an elite bullpen guy at the worst, right? And so, I still have questions about, does his fastball miss enough bats at number 3 and that sort of thing to be an elite starter? But man, really high ceiling on a guy like Kumar Rocker. Question is, what do those medicals look like? Can you keep him healthy? Can you ensure that he's going to have a long career for your team?
That is the shock of the draft. I don't know if there will be another pick made tonight that will be more surprising.
I guess if I get chosen sometime tonight, maybe that counts. I'm not exactly sure. I'm 5'10", powerful build on this.
Sure.
So
got some good legs on him.
That's right.
You can really get some push off that mound.
Real intimidating mustache when he grows it in. So
my shave for today. But
Okay.
Appreciate you getting prepped for us. We appreciate the groom.
This is one of the spots where we expected maybe one of those big bats to go. They passed on a bat. One of those bats is going to be there. They're giving the Royals a great opportunity. And speaking of giving out great opportunities, please don't forget, go to the raffle. 4 lower level tickets, a Bobby Witt Jr. baseball, an Alex Gordon autographed jersey. Alex Gordon autographed this jersey for me in Toronto. I have a picture of him signing it, a picture of authenticity. Raffle giveaway at KC Sports Network at Venmo. $20 will get you 1 ticket. $100 gets you 8 tickets to win some awesome prizes. I told BJ if we get $500 between now and the pick, we'll have a couple Diamond Club tickets in there. Have we gotten that $500 yet? We're almost there, not quite. So if we get that $500, there is a couple Diamond Club tickets. There will be a 4th prize. So make sure Venmo at KC Sports Network, $20, $100. Give it the $500, and your chances of winning the Diamond Club tickets
go up
increase exponentially.
Really
very good.
I'm not a mathematician, but I'm guessing, that's a good chance.
Yeah, the drawing is tomorrow, so there is still time, by the way, to enter the raffle. Really quick, Cam Collier and Zach Neto are the two big bats I've seen mocked to Pittsburgh at number 4. Both of them would be excellent opportunities to allow another bat to fall.
Yep.
We all love Cam Collier.
Yep.
We'd prefer this pick to be Zach Neto. I don't know which way Pittsburgh's going here, but if they draft Zach Neto, what an awesome opportunity for 2 picks in a row to get one of these bats to fall to Kansas City.
Yeah.
What was my bold prediction today on Twitter? It was, I think Brooks Lee or Elijah Green, one of those two makes it to 9.
We'll be there.
It almost got
Looks
guaranteed
like maybe
by that.
both of
Looks
them
like
will.
like if Neto gets taken here by Pittsburgh, which I think that would be an atrocious pick from Pittsburgh. I don't think that he has enough of a ceiling for what they need in their system right now. But if that happens, one of the elite prospects we thought coming into this draft is getting to the Royals at 9. I mean, that's going to happen. The numbers work that way.
We've got Pittsburgh at 4, Nats at 5, reminder. Then it's to the Marlins at 6, Cubs at 7, Twins at 8, and then our boys, Royals at 9.
So here's my thing. This is great. It is awesome that guys are falling, and it's awesome for the potential for guys to be there.
Oh, yeah.
How much more is it going to hurt when they draft Cade Horton?
Oh, man. If Elijah Green gets there at 9 and they take Cade Horton or somebody way off the board, I'm going to melt down. I mean, we're Royals fans. We're used to heartbreak, disappointment, punishment in a sense. We brought my 4-month-old son here, and Drake was like, hey, get used to some disappointment. And I was like, this might be the perfect opportunity. But I'm really hoping if Elijah Green and Brooks Lee get there, it's just simple. It's so simple. One of those two is a great option. Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
And if he is the third baseman of the future like we're talking about, I've been clamoring for that the capstone third baseman on this roster for the next 8 years or whatever. I would love it if they were here sooner rather than later. And if it's Brooks Lee, that college bat that could start fast acceleration through the organization, he could be up here in 2.5, 3 seasons and be that dude.
Yeah.
Marcus, you love Brooks Lee. Walk us through really quick why you're hopeful he doesn't go here.
Well, I'm hopeful because you're talking about a guy with an elite approach at the plate. The guy walked twice as often as he struck out at Cal Poly this year. A guy who was a pretty high draft pick when he came out of high school, ended up going to Cal Poly because he wanted to play for his dad who coaches there. But just gap-to-gap power, home run power, amazing approach.
Switch hitter.
A good athlete, switch hitter.
I love
long,
it. Yep.
Long arms on him. I love a hitter with long arms who's so quick with the bat. He's everything you want in a college hitter and a college prospect, except he didn't play in the SEC. That's really the thing that anybody's going to look at.
A little bit of injury concern as well.
A little bit of injury concern.
That's the only other thing, and probably goes to third, but phenomenal. Just a phenomenal
but
prospect.
Could be a Gold Glove third baseman for you. I mean, certainly has the arm for it, certainly has the athleticism for it.
And here's one thing I don't think, and I'm glad you mentioned the switch hitter thing. A lot of the prospects that we have coming up are left-handed guys.
Yep.
We're going to need some right-handed bats in there, and a guy like a switch hitter helps you do that. So I think Brooks Lee's a phenomenal guy. I would never pass up on the potential of Elijah Green, but I'm hoping Pittsburgh doesn't go with Brooks Lee and gives us that option.
Yeah.
Give
us the opportunity to pass on him.
Yeah.
Termar Johnson.
The reason that you could
Did they take
probably
Termar Johnson?
Oh my gosh, Termar Johnson number 4.
Wow.
They just keep falling.
Yes.
Brooks Lee. Marcus, if Brooks Lee is there at number 9, I owe you an apology because I have told you time and time again there is no way.
I think you already owe us some money here.
Because
I remember on one of your
podcast,
podcasts, you said, I will bet every dollar I have
in my bank account.
Drew Jones goes number 1. I remember
He
this
said that.
I may have
It's
said
verbatim.
that.
That is a quote, ladies and
So
gentlemen.
I've got all 3 of those dollars in my back
I was
pocket. We'll work that out.
I was going to give you my Venmo, but I guess 3 won't really make a big difference to me. So.
Is it Jace Young that you said that you were going to buy this whole bar rounds of warm whiskey if he gets the cheap whiskey? Sure.
If you want an ice cube in there, you can.
Okay.
But all these good 21-year-olds that are sitting in here, I've got whiskey shots.
Your 4-month-old's already on that whiskey train. Right?
Oh, yeah. He smelled the breath a time or two.
Good.
He smelled the breath.
He's going to have some teeth coming in real soon.
In all seriousness, really quick, the idea that Brooks Lee could be there is shocking to me.
Yeah.
It is shocking that he hasn't gone already. You can read our write-up on him. I mean, on the draft guide really quick. It's up there. Buy that draft guide, RoyalsFarmReport.com. It's pinned at the top of the website. Did you end up writing up Brooks Lee?
I didn't get a chance to. I got to the sign up too late, but I did watch a lot of video on him.
For the articles.
No, I didn't.
Earlier.
I didn't get to. Oh, I didn't. Oh, no, because you told me not to.
I told you not to.
Don't bother.
You like him too much.
We wrote
out of this.
We wrote up like 11 different articles, right, of all the different guys we thought the Royals could draft, just so when they make the pick, we hit publish, you get all of our quick thoughts, and analysis will come later. I even told Marcus, like, don't bother writing up Brooks Lee. He's not going to be there.
I have the receipts. I have the receipts.
So I don't know what's going on here. The thing that I think the Royals will love about Brooks Lee, his dad is the coach at Cal Poly.
Yeah.
So it's not that baseball lineage that you get with Justin Crawford, where his dad was a big leaguer. But with your dad being a coach, it's very Bobby Witt Jr.-ish, right? You're learning. You've been in those clubhouses. You've been around baseball. You've done it the right way for a long time. Very MJ Melendez-ish, if you will. His dad, the coach at FIU. Brooks Lee being on the board at number 5 is crazy to me. And the other thing to think about, if Miami is invested in college hitters and Brooks Lee gets to them at number 6, that means Jacob Berry could very well fall to number 9.
Yep.
I think the biggest hurdle right now between Jacob Berry falling to 9.
We knew it was coming. We knew. I mean, we can't get through this without talking about that. We try to emergency podcast this kind of stuff away. We appreciate the comment. It is what it is. The other part about the Brooks Lee, it is very shocking that he is there still at 5. But this is four guys that have been taken, and these are not guys that we thought were going to be behind 109. Kumar is the only one that's been really the one changing the game so far to really start pushing those guys down. So, yes, it is kind of cool that Brooks Lee is still there, but it doesn't really necessarily mean he will be there by 109.
It doesn't. The latest I've seen him mocked is 8 to Minnesota, and knowing Minnesota's, they took Trevor Larnach a few years ago. They like college bats in Minnesota, and I think they would relish the chance to take him at 8. But if both he and Elijah Green make it to 8, then you know that one of them will be available for the Royals at 9, and that'd be fantastic. To get any of these elite guys to fall all the way to 9 because a guy like Rocker gets taken, maybe a Neto gets taken, would be a fantastic opportunity for the Royals because they could honestly use any of these hitters within their system, be it an elite center fielder or a guy to play third base.
BJ had my wish list up there a second ago, and it had Brooks Lee at the top of my list. And again, I love Brooks Lee. I hope he's there. The Minnesota Twins do feel like the biggest hurdle. So if you're talking about the big college bats, Minnesota at number 8 is in the way of Brooks Lee. I think Jacob Berry, who's number 4 on my wish list, his biggest hurdle is Miami at number 6. Eventually, there's going to be so many of these bats falling, though. Like, let's say that right now at number 5 is Washington,
Nationals,
right?
Yeah.
If they take Kevin Parada, they just keep falling. And so I know the pick hasn't been announced yet, but the odds, like you just said, of the Royals getting one of these bats just keeps increasing.
They need one more guy out of that we didn't think was going to go in the top 9 to go in the top 9. And this is the Major League Baseball draft. And so that can very easily happen.
Yeah.
So, that really gives me hope at 9.
Honestly, I think the Royals' biggest hurdle with a guy like Barry is the Kansas City Royals because I think they're unlikely to take a guy like that, a guy with no defensive position, a guy whose entire value will basically come via his bat. That's really not their preferred profile of player.
Yep.
They like a guy who's going to give them a lot of defensive value, a guy who's going to have a high floor because of that defensive value. Much more likely to lean into a guy like that than to take a chance on a guy like Barry, who frankly could be one of the league's best hitters at some point, but is never going to give you any defensive value anyway.
Is going to be, since we're talking about Jackson Holliday, he's going to be Matt Holliday.
Right. He's going to be Matt Holliday. That's a very good comparison. Which is, we remember him playing left field. It was not a pretty left field, but he could mash.
He'd go play first.
He was one of the better hitters in the league for a long time. That's what Barry would have the chance to be if they take him, but that is not their type of guy.
Which is a good time to bring up the regime change.
Is
would JJ Piccolo's regime be more likely to take a chance on that guy? I know Lonnie Goldberg is still the scouting director, but there's nothing that we know of that Lonnie Goldberg has never come out and said, I really like Andrew Vaughn. I really like Spencer Torkelson, even though they don't have that defensive value. And maybe Dayton Moore has been the guy who says, we want to focus on athletes and defenders. Maybe JJ Piccolo's like, I don't care. Jacob Berry can hit. He's the best hitter in the draft. Go get him. I don't care if all he ever is a DH. So Lonnie Goldberg still a scouting director, but I think this pick could be a really big opportunity for us to see the regime change. And down here, we got Brooks Lee or Cam Collier. Thanks for the question, Josh. Mike, Brooks Lee, Cam Collier.
Oh, my gosh, why are you doing this to me? my general philosophy is always college bats. Now, technically, they're both college bats, technically. Cam Collier, though, is 17 years old. He played at Chippewa Community College or junior college in Florida, if I'm not mistaken. And has showed out. I mean, really did some things at a top-level junior college that you don't see from 17-year-olds unless you're named Bryce Harper. So, you're killing me. I would probably go with Collier. I'm going to be honest with you. I would take Cam Collier. He can play third base as well, and I think he will probably stick at third base. Gosh, that's a tough one, though, because Brooks Lee, the approach is the thing that does it for me. Brooks Lee's approach is so high level. That's my thing.
Really quick, Kevin Agee, who's been following us on Twitter for a very long time. So, Kevin, thanks for the reminder. I forgot that Lonnie Goldberg has been promoted to the front office. He is now an assistant general manager. Danny Ontiveros is now running the draft. Yep. I totally forgot about that. And all the prep I was doing on players, I forgot they promoted Lonnie Goldberg to the front office. He's an assistant GM. Maybe that's a really good point. Yeah. Maybe we start to see a fundamental shift in the way that Royals scout players. That's a really good point.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be not only important in these first couple of rounds, but what kind of arms do we start to take? And then, this is something I'm working up for our Royals Weekly YouTube page coming up, is that it's been hard to see a coherent approach when it comes to drafting arms for the Royals for the last 5 years. Is that something that we can maybe start to draw some conclusions from after this draft is, okay, this is a Royals type of pitcher. Mm-hmm. That would be I would love that.
And does that change? I mean, we've all been talking about the pitching coach and how there is a need for some kind of developmental, fundamental, organizational change to their approach. So maybe their type of pitcher changes after this draft too. So
could be, yeah.
Who the hell knows?
It could be. I don't think they're going to make a wholesale change at the top anyway.
Yeah.
Because I think they're going to give Paul Gibson some time. But yeah, it could certainly still change. Maybe it changes because of this. Yeah. Maybe it changes because somebody's running the draft differently.
And if you're wondering, what's an example of the fact that they don't really have an identity when it comes to drafting pitchers, look at that 2021 draft when you have Frank Mazzucato, Ben Caderna, and Shane Panzini, 3 guys with really 3 different profiles as pitching prospects. You have Mazzucato, who does not a high-velocity guy. They're looking for a real projectability starter for him, high spin on his curveball, and that sort of thing. And then you have Caderna, who already looks like a finished body, who throws 95. And then you have Panzini, who is older than Caderna and older than Mazzucato and looks like he's a high-velocity guy who looks like he's tapped out as well, but is very different in terms of profile from even Caderna. We need to start talking about, who do they need to be drafting? Are they going to have a central identity for the type of pitcher that they want to take in the draft because they think they can develop the things he doesn't have?
Yeah. Really quick, Kevin Agee, who also just made the comment, donated $100 to the raffle for the chance to win the autographed Alex Gordon jersey, for the chance to win the Bobby Witt Jr. baseball. Thank you, Kevin, very much.
Kevin, I hope you win then.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, Kevin, very much for your donation to the Boys and Girls Club of Kansas City and for the KCSN Foundation. Really quick, Marcus, you were talking about pitching identity. And I think when Asa Lacy fell to them in 2020, what you really had was, hey, that was a top guy on our board. He just fell into our lap. We don't really care what else he does well. He's really good. Cade Horton has kind of been the soup of the day in terms of who could the Royals take at number 9. And I think Asa Lacy is a great example of why you cannot afford to take Cade Horton in this draft. I get it. College arm, sophomore draft eligible, electric stuff. He had an ERA close to 8 for a long time in college this year. We see it with Asa Lacy. It doesn't matter how good or bad you are at developing arms. It does not matter how good you are as a pitcher. There is no such thing as a pitching prospect. There is no such thing.
Not in the Royals organization, at least.
You can have the best pitcher with the best stuff, and they can fall apart in a matter of minutes. So with Cade Horton, if you pass up on one of the bats, you are taking a guy with an extreme risk by the nature of being a pitcher when you have safer options on the board with just as much upside. So that is why we're so anti-pitcher right now is A, the bats are too good. B, arms are so volatile, and they can be so hard to peg and to scout and to figure out where they're going to fit in and are they going to be healthy. It's just almost never worth it.
Yeah, and that was the word that I was waiting for you to use, volatile, right? It's not that you can't draft guys and go, okay, this guy's an elite level pitcher and we can develop him and all that stuff. But why take the risk, right? Why take that risk when you can do something like draft hitters that you can develop, be a little bit more transactional, and wait for other teams to draft pitchers, develop them a little bit, see what they're going to be at the lower minor league level, and you can then trade for those pitchers. That's kind of the place I think the Royals are at now as an organization.
Cameron said we need to get a RFR minor league game for listeners. I'm in. We'll find a weekend to head up to Omaha. Right now, Rob Manfred is announcing the Nationals pick at number 5. Marcus has his fingers crossed that it's not Brooks Lee. I can't see.
Elijah Green.
Okay. Oh, no.
You sons of guns.
I really thought you were going to say
My God. Yeah. That one's for you, KCSN.
Elijah Green off the board. I said all along that I don't buy it. I don't buy the possibility that Green could be there at number 9. Now, I got my hopes up when people kept talking about the fall, and I kind of got it. You're talking about the best tool set in the entire draft. You're talking about a Byron Buxton. And I know people laugh about Adalberto Mondesi, but Adalberto Mondesi legitimately has some of the best tools in Major League Baseball.
If Adalberto Mondesi had an approach, he'd be
if he came into the Royals organization today, would he be a different player than he was when he came into the
But you're talking about elite tools, a 70-grade runner with 70-grade raw power, with a 70-grade arm. These guys don't exist. They are unicorns in terms of baseball. In order to get one of these guys, you usually have to be picking in the top 3. This is classic prospect fatigue. It is classic over-scouting and over-analyzing. Elijah Green, the number 1 player on our board, the number 1 player on Josh's wish list, is gone at number 5. Good on the Nationals for not overthinking this one.
Question for you guys. Who does he compare to most that you can think of as a prospect in the past?
Byron Buxton.
That's what and I know that was what we put in the draft guide, but is there another guy? Because Buxton has a very different frame than him. I mean, they're different looking guys. Yes, Buxton has all those things. I'm thinking of different guys. Like,
how about Trey Turner? I know Trey Turner is much smaller, but steal 30 bases, potentially hit 30 home runs at his peak. Like a guy that probably was didn't he finish top 3 in MVP voting last year in the National League? I mean, you're talking about one of the elite skill sets in baseball.
He's a prospect, but how about a guy like Jordan Adams? Do you remember him from the draft a couple years ago? He was going to go play football at University of North Carolina, just an elite runner, 80 grade speed in center field, just tons of power, decked out in muscle, just like this. Body-wise,
this guy looks like Bo Jackson.
He looks body-wise really a little more similar to this guy. But it's those, if you can draft those elite tools, if you can draft that elite athleticism and then work with it, if you believe in your production, then in your player development, then really you have something that is special. Otherwise, if you can't get baseball skills out of these elite athletes, you really shouldn't be drafting them, honestly. And a few years ago, I would have said, Royals, don't even bother drafting a guy like Elijah Green because you're not going to do anything with him. Now, though, with the hitting development that they have, I think you should really see they could really take advantage of some of these athletic guys.
I do wonder if he's supposed to be the Soto replacement. I know that he just turned down millions of dollars, and I hope they're going to throw the bag at Elijah Green. Makes sense, even though they can only do so much, obviously. But, without Soto there, it would be even crazier lineup if it went Elijah Green to Soto at some point over the next 5 years. But it is what it is.
Yeah. Really quick, I want to read some names. Eric Oxier, Dane Glenn, Jerry – I'm just going to butcher these names. Jerry, David, Chad, John, Hunter, thank you very much for your donations.
Eric Oxy, a good friend of ours.
Is he really?
Yeah, he's a high school quarterback.
There it is.
There you go, watching the game. Thank you for entering the MLB Draft, which we are drawing for tomorrow. Reminder, you can get an Alex Gordon powder blue throwback autographed jersey, autographed Bobby Witt Jr. baseball, 4 lower-level tickets. And BJ's watching the Venmo for me. If we get that $500 I said we needed, by the time the Royals pick at number 9, there's going to be a couple Diamond Club tickets involved as well. $20 will get you 1 ticket. $100 will get you 8 tickets to the raffle. Make sure you enter. Make sure you are helping out the Boys and Girls Club of Kansas City and the KCSN Foundation that we've started here at KCSN. At number 6, the Miami Marlins. I've said it before. The biggest obstacle to the Royals getting either Brooks Lee or Jacob Berry is Miami. And the next one is number 8. We have the Minnesota Twins. Who picks at 7? Tampa Bay?
The Cubs.
The Cubs, not Tampa Bay. That'd be dumb.
Yeah.
It is the Cubs.
They're good.
They traded up.
They're a good team. Yeah. So here's my fear is we go Berry at 6, Cam Collier at 7, Brooks Lee at 8.
That would be brutal.
Who is the best player left? Is it Kevin Parada?
Could we be?
Well, Kevin Parada. See, that depends on how much you believe Kevin Parada is a good enough defensive catcher to play catcher and the major league level. I mean, he is a hitter, and that's important at the catching position. I am not super comfortable with him in the Royals organization, 1, because I know that they value elite defense, and 2, because I like elite defense at the catching position as well. And so I'm not as high on Kevin Parada as a lot of places. I know that we put him 7th in the guide. That's right around where the Royals are going to pick. But
we need to thank Shannon And everyone over at KC Bar and Grill, they've been great hosts.
They have been. This place is awesome.
This is incredible.
This is fantastic. I have never been here before.
We came down for the KCSN
for the
football draft.
Jacob Berry is gone at number 6. So there you go.
Better Berry than Lee in my mind. He's still going.
From the rankings, that is one of the outside the top 9 that could start pushing these other dudes down. But
that means
even
Cam Collier and Brooks Lee are still there.
Yeah.
But okay, so like we were just talking about, Cam Collier 7, Brooks Lee 8 is my prediction. Kevin Parada is now the best player on the board outside of Jace Young. I don't know how much the Royals are going to love Young. Is this going to be a 2020 situation where one of the best college players available falls to the Royals at 9 and you're like, oh no, like, do we just have to draft this guy? And then we'll have Salvi and Melendez and all these other catchers in the system. And we just add Kevin Parada right in. I actually saw, was it Fangraphs? I think that had Kevin Parada listed as a left fielder on their rankings. So maybe you just draft Parada, throw him out in left field like I offered up with Jace Young, and just let him hit. Kevin Parada was one of the premier hitters in college baseball this year. He's also a catcher at Georgia Tech.
Shout out Joel. Yeah, he's ready.
Joel is
prepare your body, everyone.
Ready to get hurt. Joel, by the way, was not able to join us live today. He is going to be able to call in, so we'll get Joel's takes after the Royals make their pick. But it looks like a very good possibility the Royals will have an opportunity to draft Kevin Parada. I did not think this to be possible as we were sitting here yesterday.
I think that was Baseball America's best college bat was Kevin Parada.
Yeah.
So
I'll take Parada at 9. I mean, if you're asking me, would I rather have a Kevin Parada who I don't want to stick necessarily as a catcher in the Royals system, or would I rather take some college or prep pitcher or something like that? My answer is Parada. I still want that college bat if it's there.
Would you take him over Jace Young? I mean, is that what you do? He's going to provide more defensive value and that there's versatility at least there.
Exactly. I know that Parada can probably play, if nothing else, especially when automated automated umpires come in. Strike zone comes in. I know that he'll probably be better at catching after that comes in. So I would rather have Parada because, whether he's just average at catcher, that's still a higher defensive value than wherever Jace Young is going to play. Because he might be an average second baseman. He might be an average left fielder. I'd rather have Parada, who I can play an elite position defensively. So who knows what happens in the future? Who knows if Salvador Perez can continue catching? Who knows if MJ Melendo hasn't looked great defensively? So maybe they can get Parada in, work with him defensively, and he ends up turning into something
really quick. I want to read this off. Kevin Parada is a draft eligible sophomore. He is 20 years old. He hit 361 with an OPS north of 1100 this year at Georgia Tech, 32 strikeouts, 30 walks. So you're talking about right around 10% for both his walk and strikeout rate. I don't personally love the approach, but he has one of the best hit tools in the league, in the draft. And he also has the ability. He hit 26 home runs as a sophomore. Like this kid is one of the best bats available. The fact that he is still on the board blows my mind. But what we're looking at right now is Kevin Parada, Cam Collier, or Brooks Lee. One of them's going to be there at 9.
I'll take any one of them. And here's the thing. I really think this is going to be the draft
Do you know Kathleen?
of the hit tool.
Kathleen
Mead.
I do not. Oh, yes, I do.
That's our sister-in-law.
My bad.
Well, she said great job. So
Thanks,
shout out to Kathleen.
Appreciate it. Yeah,
I was actually thinking about this on the way over here. I think this is going to be the draft of the hit tool. I think that years past, you'd see a lot of guys, we want the big power potential. We're willing to work with the high strikeout numbers. I don't think that's going to be the case anymore. With pitchers as advanced as they are at the major league level, with strikeouts as high as they are at the major league level, I think teams are really going to be valuing hit tools. And the Parada hit tool is something that's definitely
Or they're going to be valuing approach, and Jace Young has the best approach.
He has an amazing approach. I mean, 6 of one, half dozen of the other. You're not going to go wrong with a pick of Parada or Jace Young. You're really not. Both guys can hit and will be able to hit.
The thing that maybe gives it to Parada for me is that catcher's arm plays in left field and plays really well. Jace Young, there's questions on the arm even at second base. So that's the big thing for me. So
what a world, by the way, where we're sitting here with the 9th overall pick and 3 of the 4 best college players available are all going to be there. They're all still here.
And they're all relatively young. I mean, Cam Collier's really young. Then you have draft eligible sophomore in Parada. Jace Young's a little bit older, but he's not a sophomore, is he?
No,
he's a junior.
This
but he's the consensus best player in the Big 12 for the last 2 years.
Yes, this confirms to me they're going chalk. There is no way, they should be passing on any of these 3 guys. So 100%. I will say it now: if at number 9 they pass on any of these 3, or Jace Young for that matter, I am going to blow a gasket. There is no way you could have expected one of Lee, Collier, or Parada to be here heading into the draft. There's no reason for anybody else to be on board.
When Cade Horton gets picked, we're going to start a GoFundMe to get you a nice Cade Horton jersey.
Yeah.
After this, okay. All right. A
not
GoFundMe
funny.
for Alex
I'll
for his
tell you
Cade
this.
Horton
I'll
jersey.
tell you this. If Brooks Lee makes it to 9, I'm never going to let him forget it. I am never going to let him forget it because never going to make it. Tells me like 8 times over text. That's never going to happen.
No way.
Calm down, you delusional person.
Here we go.
If he makes it to
The
9,
Chicago
I'm never
Cubs at number 7. I'm pretty sure this is going to be Cam Collier. I can't.
That's Cade Horton. They just took Cade Horton.
You
They
are
did
kidding
what?
Oh, my God.
Cubs, thank you, Cubs.
We know we're not taking them.
Just took the gun right out of their hands.
That's a great
Who
way.
is
That is
running
a
that
great way of
organization?
putting it, Josh.
Thank
Took the
you.
gun right out of their hands.
Thank you.
Just disarming them.
The
How
Chicago
can I send
Cubs
them?
just stopped the Royals from making the biggest. No, I'm just kidding. But thank you, Chicago, for not allowing us to
Hey.
screw this up. Now you're going to have your pick of 2 of the best 3
Uh-huh.
college bats available.
Yes.
What is going on?
That was.
Shut up,
right.
Yeah.
Because the Cubs are great at
That's why we
developing
don't let you talk
Developing,
about
yeah.
college players. You focus on the high school kids. Leave the college guys alone. You don't know anything.
I tell you, BJ's reaction on that was very good because he was just like going at it and then
Hey,
fantastic.
I
had
told
to be
you
the Royals'
all
reaction
along.
as well.
Right. I was like, oh man.
I told you
I guess
all
we
along
gotta
there
take
is
Cam
no way
Collier
that
now.
Cam Collier
No way.
or Brooks Lee were going to be there.
Right.
And they're one of them has to be there.
It's
One
a-
of them is going to be there at number 9.
It's a numbers game, and this is the MLB draft, okay? It's a
Mhm.
numbers game at 9. If there are 4 or 5 elite players, you know in the MLB draft, there are 3 GMs picking in the top 10 who are going to be nuts enough to go off book.
We're
Who are-
smarter than
to
everybody.
take, that's why they're picking in the top 10. Because
Go
they
Galaxy
think they
brain
know.
on them.
They're galaxy brain.
Yeah.
That's why they're picking that high. They think they know something when really they don't. And so, some of these picks are going to bomb, right? Like there's a decent
Oh,
chance that
100%.
Cade Horton pick bombs. And there's a decent chance that the Kamara Rocker pick doesn't go the way they think. And so, they're doing something really. You just have to really go next level to really think that Cade Horton, who puts up an almost 8 ERA in the regular season, I know he's coming off Tommy John, but to think that he deserves a place in the top 10 when this pitching class is so weak is just nuts to me.
Hey, really quick, we're going to break down. There's a video for Cam Collier
I
here.
love Cam Collier. I love his left-handed swing. But what I love, I think, the most about him is just the challenges he's in when he would have been a high school
This is
junior.
Jim Callis of
But that's
MLB
not good
Pipeline
enough for him.
talking
He
about Cam
graduates early,
Collier.
He goes to junior college. One of the
I don't know
best
if you guys
junior
can
college
hear
programs
that,
in the country,
but
Chipola.
Cam Collier,
And he
I
plays
mentioned
well there.
preseason.
And that's not
He's
enough.
either
Once he
going
gets
to
the Cape Cod
go
League,
before
where he's
Kansas
the
City at 9,
first
or he's
17-year-old
going to end up being the guy that I want at 9. Well, I said that in February. I did not think there was a prayer he was going to get here by May because he is 17. Cam Collier is supposed to be a junior in high school.
Yeah.
Instead, he's playing at Chipola College, the best JUCO in the country. He went out to the Cape and held his own with a wooden bat. He's supposed to be a senior, next spring, and instead, he apparently is going to be in the Royal system. There's your third baseman of the future.
It's
So
going to
really
take
quick,
him like 4 or 5 seasons, but he'll get here.
Yeah.
will it?
And he'll still be
Well, I would
23.
think. The truth.
Well,
Good,
not
that's a
even
good, great
23,
point.
he'll be 20,
Yeah.
21.
Yeah.
It's the age that's really selling a lot of people on Cam Collier. There are issues. I mean, there are swing and miss issues with Cam Collier
Yeah.
that you have to address. But who doesn't have those issues when they're
100%.
17
Yeah.
years old?
How much of that is
Playing.
exposure
Yeah.
to top level pitching?
That's what he's doing. He's pushing himself beyond limits to go ahead and develop as fast as he possibly can. A really exciting player. The question is, do you take him over Brooks Lee if they're both there?
Right.
I hate to do this to you, but Mike and Marcus are going to have to.
Yeah, no, we
wrestle.
need. I
They're
gotta
going
go.
they're
Yeah.
going to have to
process.
step off, and the
We're gonna
funniest
fight out this Brooks Lee Cam Collier
the
thing.
funniest thing is that when the Royals wind up with Brooks Lee at number 9, Marcus is going to be over there like doing the dirty bird at me, just flipping them all over the place, and I'm going to have to leave the stage to go kick his.
I was going to say
Behind in the parking lot
I'll be the
real
one
quick.
screaming off camera, guys. That's the one that you'll be hearing from.
So thank you to Marcus and Mike. They will be back. So if you are here only for Marcus and Mike, A, Josh and I will do better. B,
Yeah.
they will be back as soon as the Royals make their pick at 9. We have a couple of special guests that are going to join us, and then Marcus and Mike will be right back up here joining us to talk about the Royals pick at number 9. Gentlemen, thank you.
Thank
We'll
you.
see you
We'll
guys
see you
again
guys.
here in just a little bit.
We've talked about all the hallelujah, all these great players that are currently there. There is still a guy here. You love him. I am very down on him that could absolutely burst our bubble, and that's Jet Williams. I think he is that prototypical 5'8", 5'8", 175 middle infielder type. He is a prep, so who knows, but he's just that small, middle infielder with a great glove, good speed, the type of middle infielder that they love to draft and try to develop in the shoving them down our throats type of thing. You were going to have your meltdown if Cade Horton was taken at 109 with these dudes up there. I might, if these dudes are up there and it's Jet Williams, Jet, you might be a great dude, and I don't mean to badmouth you at all. It's more about the anger towards the organization. If you're the pick at 109 and Collier and Parada, Jace Jung, Chris, all these dudes are there. If you get selected, welcome to Kansas City, and I also might hate you for a little bit.
Jet Williams has big Corbin Carroll energy to me. I hope you're right. In Drake's defense, Drake Downing, by the way, he is one of our better amateur prep prospect guys that writes for us at Royals Farm Report. He did a lot of the RFR draft guide on prep guys. He, in the 2019 draft, said if the Royals, and this, by the way, was early in the draft cycle, but when it wasn't 1,000% clear that Bobby Witt Jr. would be there at number 2, he said Corbin Carroll might be the second best guy. And Corbin Carroll fell to Arizona at like 13 or 12. Maybe it wasn't that far, but he wasn't a top 5 pick if I remember correctly. Corbin Carroll is now probably the consensus number 1 prospect in baseball who hasn't debuted in big leagues yet.
Yep.
Corbin Carroll is incredible.
Yep.
He's Williams
still like 5'9", 180.
Jet Williams.
And he's just absolutely smashing balls. So
yes.
He is like the Jose Altuve guy. Quick hands, great bat speed, and absolutely crushing baseballs at the moment. So,
and with a chance to play center field long term. So, really quick, we are waiting.
What?
Josh's brother Brian
Who's that guy?
Donated $100 to the raffle. So we are chipping away at those extra Diamond Club tickets for the raffle. We need $200 more, and we will have a 4th giveaway. We have 2 picks left. Get that $200 in before the Royals pick at number 9, and we will have 2 Diamond Club tickets to throw in with the autographed Alex Gordon jersey, the autographed Bobby Witt Jr. baseball, and 4 lower-level tickets to any game you want except for like maybe a Friday night against the Dodgers or something like that. But 4 lower-level tickets to most games, 1 game in particular, most are available, 2 Diamond Club tickets, a Bobby Witt Jr. baseball, an Alex Gordon jersey. We need $200 more to make that possible. The drawing will be tomorrow, and there will be 4 prizes available. Okay, Josh, one of Cam Collier and Brooks Lee is going to be available at number 9. Who do you want?
Yes.
Yes.
Does that count as I would love to have either one at this point. Both of those have got that third baseman of the future type. You got the superstar potentially in Collier on the back end come 2-3 years. And then I should probably say 3 to 4 is probably more realistic, but having him to be the next guy to potentially pair with Bobby Witt Jr. in his prime for the last, I'm going to guess, 2 seasons that before he hits the open market, it would be awesome to pair those dudes on the left side of the infield. But then why not do it with Brooks Lee too? But do it in 2 years instead. It's a tough toss-up. I would probably lean towards Brooks Lee. Where are you at?
I'm leaning Cam Collier because I think Cam Collier's left-handed swing gives him the chance to hit 35 or more home runs in the big leagues. He already hits for a lot of power. He has a great approach, a great hit tool. He's a great athlete. I said he reminds me a little bit of Mike Moustakas, but a better athlete long-term. But anyway, we'll see what happens here with Minnesota getting ready to make the pick at 8. If you're liking what you're hearing and seeing today, like, subscribe, comment, and everything you do makes it more possible for us to do more cool stuff like this. Please like, please comment, please subscribe while you're here watching already. Who'd they take at number 8? Who'd they take, Marcus? The pick at number 8 is Brooks Lee.
There he is.
Told you, Marcus. The floor for Brooks Lee was always going to be number 8. This is the only thing I've gotten right all day is that Brooks Lee was not going to fall past the Twins at number 8, which means, by golly, Cam Collier's there at number 9.
Let's go. And, you got Baseball America's best, like I said, Kevin Parada, best college bat. You've got guys on our wish list and Jacob Berry and Jace Young. Gavin Cross has been mocked to them multiple times. Also be a great pick and a great addition to kind of fast track, add to these this wave that's on the doorstep and in there right now. So can you lose?
No.
I don't think you can lose.
really quick, I wrote up Cam Collier in the draft guide. We had Cam Collier number 4 on our board. He is now available at number 9. On February 28th, I tweeted that I thought Cam Collier probably ought to be the Royals pick with number 9. Now, as we sit here in July, there's absolutely no chance that Collier falls all the way to number 9. He's been in conversations for the first overall pick, and I legitimately haven't seen a single mock all spring with him falling past the Cubs at number 7. The route that he's taken has been anything but traditional. He hit .333 with a 956 OPS when he should have been a junior in high school. He should have been a junior in high school. He was one of the best players in all of junior college baseball. Because he's just 17 years old, playing against much better competition, I think models will love him.
Yeah.
However, he is still here at number 9, 30-plus home run potential, the chance to be a gold glove type of third baseman because he is such a good athlete. There is nothing that I think Cam Collier cannot achieve. If the Royals pass on him here at number 9, I'm going to be so upset.
I think we should have saved that write-up read-through. I think we should have saved it and done it after the fact because I just don't want your breath to be wasted. It just seems like it's a possibility. It's too on the nail on the head, I think, to actually happen. If it does happen, I'll be stacked. I'll be absolutely pumped for it. Stacked is not the appropriate word there, but I'll be absolutely livid and happy that Cam Collier is there. But who knows what happens?
Oh, my beating heart. There's Slugger in his
praying. Yep.
Yeah.
Us too, Slug.
Come on, Cam.
Me and
Come
Slugger
on,
on a
Cam.
first name basis.
Don't screw this up, JJ and company. This is so easy. This is so easy. Don't
40
overthink
seconds.
it.
They're overthinking it, aren't they?
Oh.
They weren't ready for this. 30 seconds till the pick is due, baby.
Oh, Cam Collier. If they go Jace Young, I'll be fine. If they go Gavin Cross, I'll be a little upset, but I'll be fine.
Sure.
Who else is on the board, Josh? Just
It would be
here.
hard to also on Collier. It would be hard.
Kevin Cotta.
Yes, it would be hard to see Collier demanding a huge slot as well. So that probably is not an issue either.
It sounds like to me. I just got a text. Oh, it sounds like Gavin Cross.
Okay.
It sounds like Gavin Cross. Please, just take Collier. Actually, I'd be okay with Gavin Cross. I'm not gonna love it. Gavin Cross, very flat bats path. Yep. Some of the best exit velocities in the draft. I legitimately like Gavin Cross. I don't want it to come up that I'm
right.
out, but Cam Collier reminds me of like, and again, I hate to compare him to Bryce Harper, and I'm not comparing Cam Collier to Bryce Harper, but just in terms of a young kid competing against talent so much older than him, I really think we'll look back at this and go, man, Gavin Cross helped the playoff team, but Cam Collier was the superstar.
Right.
Gavin Cross, I just kind of wonder what his ceiling is.
Yep.
Like, can he be a 30 home run guy? I don't know. Could he hit 20? Sure. Is he Vinny Pasquantino? Maybe. I don't love the approach.
Right.
I don't think he's got that kind of an eye. He's got a great hit tool. Oh,
picks in. There comes Rob.
Just, I don't want to be right. I've never wanted to be wrong so bad.
Unless it was Kate Orton. It is Cross.
It is Gavin Cross. Well, we called that one from a long way away. If you bought the draft guide, this is who we mocked to the Royals in the draft guide. So another guy we got right is Gavin Cross. Look, it's a great athlete.
Yep.
He can really run. I think he's got a chance to play center field long term.
Yep.
I am not anti-Gavin Cross. I am shocked that Cam Collier was on the board at number 9. I am shocked the Royals passed on Cam Collier at number 9. The Royals now have Gavin Cross, a center fielder / maybe a right fielder from Virginia.
A lot of people think
Tech.
he's headed to the corner. Yeah, he's got a strong arm, got a great build, 6'3", 210. I like that a lot. So
right now we have Jeff Ponce ready to come in from Baseball America.
What's up, guys?
Jeff, you are at the draft. Tell us about Gavin Cross.
Yeah, I saw Gavin Cross for a couple games last year on the Cape. I think the thing that's undersold about Cross consistently is this is a guy with approach, a guy with power, a guy with contact that can play center field. And if you got an outfielder like this that has that offensive profile, has that athleticism, and can play center field, that means he's probably going to be able to play right. He's going to be able to play left. I think this is a really good pick. I think you're talking about probably one of the more secure, less risky picks that we've seen so far, especially when you're seeing something like Kumar Rocker going at 3, which I think shocked everybody. I think it's a good pick by the Royals. I had heard it was going to be an off-the-board name. This is certainly not an off-the-board name whatsoever. I think it's a worthy pick, and the way that the draft is falling, this is probably where I would have gone myself.
So what's the risk versus reward with skipping on Cam Collier and going with Cross?
Personally, I don't think it's any risk at all. I think you're getting a better hitter, you're getting a better athlete, you're getting a guy that has a true defensive position. There's some questions like that about Collier. The makeup's really high on Cross. I think when you're talking about Cam Collier, it's 80 makeup. This is a kid that loves baseball. I don't think I've liked a player on a personal level as much as I've liked Cam Collier, but I do think there are some questions about the athleticism. There's some questions about a lot of 4-3 ground balls. Man, that's what I saw on the Cape. I saw a lot of ground balls to the right side. And I think there's some questions about whether he's a third baseman or not. They were playing Kyle Karros there at third base pretty regularly over Collier. I don't know. I have some questions. I think that Cam, it's a 60 hit tool. It's maybe 70 approach. I think you're getting a lot of the same stuff with Cross, and he does things faster than Collier does. I like this pick for the Royals. It's an up the middle player with a pretty safe defensive floor, and I think a pretty high offensive upside. And a guy that, when he was here for the first few games in the Cape, there was a lot of buzz back in 2021. So I like the pick a lot, man. I think it was a good move by the Royals.
Last question, Jeff. Do you think Cross can play center field long term?
Yeah, I think so. I think especially based on how he handles the position. We got Gabriel Hughes coming in now to the Rockies. But yeah, I think he's a guy that just naturally plays the position pretty well. He's got enough run speed and giddy up to get there, but he's got feel for the position. So I really do think he's a guy that can stick in center field long term. He's not going to win a Gold Glove there, but you don't need a guy that's a Gold Glove center fielder. You need steady influence, and if he's going to balance things out by being a top of the order type of hitter with pop, I don't think he can go wrong.
Jeff, we appreciate your time, man. Enjoy the draft.
Anytime,
we'll talk to you again soon.
Enjoy the draft, guys.
That was Jeff Ponce of Baseball America joining us live from the Major League Baseball Draft. The Kansas City Royals have taken Gavin Cross, an outfielder from Virginia Tech, an ass-kicking chicken, if you will, the Hokies out there from Blacksburg, Virginia. I got to tell you, I feel better about the pick after talking to Jeff. It is amazing to me that it's amazing to me that Gavin Cross was the pick over who was available. But now, the more you think about it with the safety net that he talked about, I feel better after talking to Jeff. Jeff did some of the best work in all of amateur baseball, writing for Prospects Live. He gets picked up by Baseball America. If Jeff is a Gavin Cross guy, I'm a Gavin Cross guy. And again, this is the guy we mocked Kansas City originally.
And if it's all about safety with this pick, I feel all warm and cuddly inside about it.
Yes.
If he's saying that it's a safe pick, the profile's there's not any huge red flags. It did seem like Baseball America did mention that he may have a little bit of trouble with off speed. That's fine. Who doesn't at this point? But if he says Gavin Cross is a safe pick, I'm into it.
I'm into it as well. We're going to have Joe Doyle on now. Is Joe Doyle ready to roll? No. Jeff. Jeff Ellis is on. Jeff, bring Jeff in. Jeff, what's going on?
Well, it just what a crazy draft so far. I mean, Rocky is sliding up with Gabriel Hughes here. It's interesting the way things are playing out, but it seems like a lot of underslot dealing in the early going. But yeah, it's fun when they're crazy, and this one's been crazy. I mean, Vegas changed the odds on the top overall pick 3 times in the last 48 hours, and then none of them were Jackson Holiday. So, Vegas didn't have it right. Nobody had it right. Everyone's kind of behind on this one, but it makes it fun for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
Jeff, when we talked on the podcast a week or two ago, I mentioned to you that I was pretty sure Gavin Cross was going to be the guy at number 9. We mocked him in our draft guide to the Royals at number 9. I think this is pretty chalky, but I also think there's a lot of room for upside here. What do you think specifically of Cross as an outfielder defensively in center field long term?
I think he's about average-ish there. It's fringy as a center fielder. I'm the low man on Cross. That's got to be the thing there. I had him in the teens, and part of it is college outfielders have actually been a pretty bust-heavy, non-safe group when you look at them in general the past few years. And guys with Cross's profile that are kind of something I've always tried to explain, but not been the best at explaining, is when you're a guy who's a 50 at everything with a few 55s, you don't have that carrying tool. If one thing goes wrong, then you're a backup. Like he is, everyone's going to call him safe, but in my opinion, he's not safe because he can't, there's no wiggle with that profile. He has to be exactly what he is. And if all of a sudden he doesn't pick up, the breaking ball as well, or if the power is more raw than in game, then you have a backup. So I know the conventional wisdom, and again, I am the minority on this. If you're a Royals fan, you can be like, he's just insane. It's okay. I have weird views on things, but the one thing I'll say is I would caution, like, anyone go look at college outfielders. It's outside of maybe like prep pitchers and catchers, it is the most poorly translated skill. Like, it's the group that really does very poorly. And when you look at some of the guys from recent classes, again, you kind of look at this case and, Virginia Tech, we don't have a great track record in general there, but I mean, the numbers are good. I think he's probably about an average starter with a chance to be like just average across the board. But I'm always hesitant to call that a safe profile just because when I don't see a carrying tool, I think it's not as safe as we tend to think.
Last question for you, Jeff, before we get you out of here. Gavin Cross had some of the best exit velocities in this college back class, but it didn't necessarily translate to a lot of home runs. Do you think with the raw power that he's able to translate that into game power at the next level?
So much of that comes down to, this is where sometimes I really wish I had, I was good friends with the right people, the ones who give you all that, the launch angle and stuff. It comes down to how much you believe the Royals can work with him and coach him. Like, if he can, elevate that a little bit more, maybe we see, a better outcome. I said it's a pick that makes sense. I had it right in my mock as well, the last second one I had, but it's just one of those selections with some of the guys on the board. I was kind of surprised they stuck with it, but yeah, I think he's going to be a good player. I hesitant to go beyond that, but yeah, I think there's a chance you lock into more power, but it comes down to coaching and just working on things like that launch angle and stuff like that.
Jeff, thanks for joining us. I know you're busy. The Cleveland pick coming up here in just a bit. We appreciate your insight, man. Have a good night.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for having me on.
I like those two playing off each other. We get the safe pick, and it's like, hey, this is great. And then he's like, just hold on just a minute.
I will say the one thing with Jeff is he is more scout heavy than analytics heavy.
Yep.
And I trust his eye. Jeff has been doing great work for the MLB Draft coverage for a long time. And I agree with him that not having an elite carrying tool is sometimes a damper on a prospect. I will say the one thing with Gavin Cross not having an elite tool, he does. It's raw power, the ability to hit the baseball very hard. The difference is going to be for Cross is, can he lift the ball enough to hit 30 home runs in the big leagues? Because it's not going to be a matter of hitting it hard enough. It's about hitting it high enough consistently without the swing and miss coming into play.
Yep.
I'm still a fan. I know Jeff's a little bit lower on him. We had Gavin Cross at number 11 on our big board, mocked him to Kansas City. Joel is going to be joining us here pretty soon. I look at the draft and the way it fell, and I think the Royals, it may have gotten to a point. Cam Collier's on the board. Kevin Parada's on the board. Gavin Cross, Jace Young. And the Royals were probably looking at this going, oh, no, we did all this work with Cross, got it all worked out. We're pretty sure it's where we're going. And then when we turn around, there's other players who maybe we didn't expect to be there.
Yep.
And it kind of reminds me of Detroit last year, where everybody knew they loved Marcelo Mayer.
Mm-hmm.
Marcelo Mayer gets to them at 3. They had already worked out a deal with Jackson Jobe, and so they honored that deal with Jackson Jobe. They didn't go back on it. They gave him the money, and then Marcelo Mayer goes number 4 to Boston. So maybe that's a situation like what happened. I obviously I can't say for sure.
Right.
But we knew the Royals were going to like Cross as the player.
Yep.
Good athlete, good defender, good hit tool, a questionable approach with raw power that hasn't translated into game power yet. So
does that count as the horse that we were wanting them to draft? Is he the guy that Tosar and Saylor and Zumwalder are going to be able to turn into a stallion?
I don't know. I don't know.
It'd be
exactly.
nice if it's a safe batting profile, not a lot stands out. That gives me a floor to jump off of and see how high they can jump at that point. I would like to see how high he could jump at that point.
I agree. I just don't know if there's like a consistent perennial all-star here. I think you've just drafted the safest college bat outside of Brooks Lee in this draft. Brooks Lee, we had in our top 3 or top 5, actually. We had him at number 5. There's a reason for that. He is the safest player in the draft. You're not going to get a player with more floor than Lee, right?
Yeah.
I do think with Cross, you have a very similar floor. It's almost as high as Brooks Lee, and I think there's more upside. I just don't know what that upside is.
Right.
So Gavin Cross is now a Kansas City Royal. Well, he hasn't signed a contract yet.
Well,
but he's been drafted.
For all
We
intents and purposes.
assume that a junior in college will sign that contract.
Yeah.
Jared
full
Perkins,
slot.
close to full slot.
Probably, yeah.
Slot's 5.2. I wouldn't be surprised if it was like 4.8. But I do want to remind folks, if it's only $400,000 or so, that was the difference last year between the Royals signing Luca Tresh and not signing Luca Tresh.
Yep.
Luca Tresh right now is tearing up high A.
Yep.
So I think what you're looking at is the potential to save enough money for a guy like that down the road.
Yes.
But it doesn't necessarily save you the money to draft Henry Bolt at number 49, who we know they're in love with.
Yep. And Bolt is the profile. He is the absolute profile. So I would love to see that too. We'll see.
So we were going to get Joe Doyle on from Prospects Live. We're having some issues getting him through. We're waiting on our other co-host, Joel, to join us. Is Joel ready?
There he is.
Joel,
what's up, guys?
Joel Penfield, the third co-host, the other co-host of this podcast, is now joining us live. We are covering the Major League Baseball draft from the Kingdom Bar and Grill here in Overland Park. Gavin Cross is a Kansas City Royal with the 9th overall pick. The Royals passed on Cam Collier. They passed on Kevin Parada. They passed on Jace Young. They take the outfielder from Virginia Tech, the center fielder for the Hokies, maybe a right fielder long-term. Joel, you're watching the draft from home. Tell us about your initial reaction as the Royals took as they took Gavin Cross.
So Cam Collier is a really nice segue here because, I mean, the way the board fell, my goodness, you have Kevin Parada, you have Jace Young, you have Cam Collier there, and you still had Gavin Cross too. Like, the Royals really couldn't go wrong if they took any of those 4 bats. They take Gavin Cross, who I like, and a guy that I think is going to be a good fit for the Royals and has a nice opportunity to be a center fielder, just an outfielder that this organization really needs. And I like the pick. Was it safe relative to the other options that were there? Probably, but it certainly still feels like it was a good pick for the Royals.
I want to read a little bit of what we wrote. Oh, hang on with Joel. We got Joe Doyle. His videos come through. Joe, Prospects Live, lead draft analyst out there. Joe, the Royals passed on Cam Collier. They passed on Kevin Parada to take Gavin Cross. What was your initial reaction to the way the board fell and the Royals drafting Cross out of that?
Oh man, sorry I'm not my usual set here, guys.
You're in draft set.
Working the phones like crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So Cross. Yeah, man. I missed the question. I think it's a good hit for the Royals. I've been saying for a while now, I think Cross is a guy in this class that provides more tools than I think his baseball card probably presented at the end of the year. There's more power there than what he showed. There's more speed there than what he showed. He's a better defender than he's probably given credit for. He's forced into center field at Virginia Tech a little bit. He's going to be an above-average right fielder, a potential bat that could move pretty quick. It's a sound swing, no hitches in it, keeps the barrel through the zone a long time, stays compact. For the most part, he can get a little long on breaking balls, but handles velo better than most bats in this class. So you definitely have that floor in terms of handling professional stuff. Yeah, I mean, listen, there was 2 college bats in this class that I thought not only had defensive value, but also had the floor of being a big league hitter with hitterish tendencies and hitterish metrics. And that was Jace Young and Gavin Cross. So I think you guys got a good one here.
Joe, I know you're busy tonight. We'll let you get out of here and tend to the draft. Thank you very much for your insight and your analysis. We'll talk to you again soon, man.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
That was Joe Doyle of Prospects Live, another guy who we had on the podcast, and we talked about the probability of the Royals liking a Gavin Cross type. Here, I want to read you guys a little bit of what I wrote in the draft guide, not from Cross's profile, but this is what I wrote in the mock draft where we mocked Gavin Cross to the Royals at number 9. I said, I don't know where they're going. Here's what I do know. The Royals love athletes. They love action players. They love guys who play good defense. Cross checks all of these boxes. He hits the ever-loving crap out of the baseball, posting some of the biggest exit velocities in the draft class, but he doesn't quite hit the number of home runs you'd expect with that profile due to a very flat bat path. Mason McCray came on our podcast and talked about how this reminds him of Henry Davis a little bit. Henry Davis had some of the best exit velocities in the draft class last year, but he had a very flat swing, and the home runs didn't start to accumulate until he learned to elevate the baseball a little bit. Now, Henry Davis was a first overall pick and one of the top 50 prospects in all of baseball because he learned to elevate. Joel, if Gavin Cross starts to learn to lift the baseball with more regularity, something that Drew Saylor has been very good at getting across in his tenure as a Royals hitting coordinator, you've got a 30 home run power bat on your hands.
This is fantastic clay for Drew Saylor and Mike Tozar and Alex Zumwalt to work with. The batted ball profile is ridiculous. Some of the best exit velocities, and that's something that you can't teach most of the time. It's just being able to find the barrel to hit the ball hard. He has that, so that's a great starting point for what the Royals need out of Gavin Cross. Now you get him to elevate his swing just a little bit, then you have a chance for a 30 home run power guy with a guy that has shown an ability to advance his approach from his sophomore to his junior year, where he cut his strikeouts almost in half and walked more. So there's already some improvement there on the approach side, which is, again, a great starting point for Drew Saylor to work with. Then you couple that with the ability to get him to elevate the ball. We're looking at a really nice bat.
And somebody, I missed who made the comment, but they were talking about Drew Waters potentially finding his hit tool and being the center fielder. It doesn't put as much pressure on Gavin Cross to be the center fielder of the future, to be able to move over to the corner, right field, left field, whatever you want there. But in a pinch, if Drew Waters doesn't find that hit tool, then you can shove him over potentially into center field, mold him into the center fielder of the future, and make him the guy. So that was a great comment.
The Royals are really light on outfielders in the system. And, of course, I exited out of our thing. But I want to go through our rankings as they existed in the preseason. And really quickly, I'm going to run through the outfielders that we had in the top 30 this preseason. They were Eric Pena, who is hitting terribly in low A. Darryl Collins, who is on the development list after being in low A. Sully Matias at 25, who's still striking out 35% of the time in double A. And that is it. Did the Tigers really take Jace Young? Of course they did. I put that in the mock draft as well. Of course they did. Screw you, Detroit. Anyway, Tyler Gentry is going to be in our top 10 at midseason. Tyler Gentry, has been one of the best hitters in minor league baseball, period, all season. So you have Tyler Gentry. Nate Eaton has played more outfield. He's been great. Tucker Bradley's going to slide into our top 30. He's fine. Probably not an everyday guy. But you go down the list, there's not a lot of outfielders. So I think what the Royals have done here is they've gotten a really good bat, a really good prospect, and they've also done a good job of filling an organizational need in the process.
And it's fast-tracked. I mean, the college bat part of it is also very fun.
At first glance, Alex, where do you think Gavin Cross is going to fit into our top 30?
I think Gavin Cross probably slides anywhere from 2 to 5. I don't know that I'd put him above Nick Pratto. I don't know that I would put Gavin Cross above Nick Lofton
Massey.
So far. I think he reminds me of a guy like Massey, so he could be in there. He's definitely younger, but obviously he's further behind. I don't know.
Where's he
I think
with like Lofton and Garcia?
He's in front of Garcia for me, just off the top of my head. Behind Lofton, though, probably. I think Nick Lofton's a bona fide top 100 prospect. So we'll see. We'll see where Gavin Cross ends up. It'll be a vote. We have a cumulative list of guys who vote on our midseason rankings. So I think you're going to have a top 5 prospect for sure. It just kind of depends on the way the board falls. The thing I'm looking at here is, where does he start? Because I think you could take Gavin Cross, throw him on the Columbia roster right now, and have a pretty good hitter there at low A.
And there's not much to watch in Columbia as far as hitters at the moment.
Well, and especially with the way they're playing in the second half right now. Like, they are a second half team. They're playing really well. So now you inject a college outfielder into that lineup that's very full of prep guys that it's their first time, or it's 18-year-old international kids that without a ton of college experience outside of like a river town. So it's a great opportunity to have some an older guy, so to speak, in that lineup as they're trying to chase a second half playoff spot.
And I think with Rivertown, he's probably going to be in high A here next weekend. So Gavin Cross might just be able to slide right in and take up where Rivertown left off. Really quick, in case you had not tuned in earlier and are tuned in now, Mike Mead over here to Josh's, it's your left, and Marcus Mead on my right. They are the hosts of the Royals Weekly podcast. They joined us to break down a little bit of the earlier draft, and now they are back to break down the pick now. Mike, Cam Collier was on the board. They passed on Cam Collier to take Gavin Cross, the outfielder from Virginia Tech. What were your thoughts? What were your emotions? I know I got lights in my face. I could hardly see you guys over there. It wasn't total excitement, but you still have to be pretty excited about the player they got.
Yeah, well, the one thing we didn't talk about, we never talked about Gavin Cross going there, and that's the Major League Baseball draft. I'm not as high on Gavin Cross as a lot of people are, but I see him as a very Royals pick because he does provide defensive value that Jace Young does not provide.
Yep.
Okay. The floor of him is pretty high, and so that's exciting. And the approach is really good, which I love. I love college hitters with good approaches. And so I do like Gavin Cross. It's just I'm not as high on him because of the lack of power potential. And I just don't think that's going to be there. Now, maybe the Royals can tap in a little bit more to that. But it's not my pick. But he is an athletic guy. He'll be a really good right fielder, I think. But I'm just not super high on it, especially when Cam Collier was there. I would have loved that. But you're not getting a bad player. You're getting a good player. But if you're saying, what college bat do you want to take? There were Jace Young, Jacob Berry was still there, and Cam Collier is technically a college bat as well. And so I would have taken any one of those guys over Gavin Cross. But you're not getting a bad player here. You're getting a good guy.
If memory serves, and I've read so much about so many different players, I could be way off the base here, but I seem to remember someone saying that his exit velocity data is off the charts. He hits the ball insanely hard. So if you think, okay, we have a hitting coordinator in Drew Saylor, we have a hitting production team that can really help him unlock some of that power, then you think, okay, then that's worth it at this number 9 pick, because you're going to get really good defense in a corner, because you're going to get a guy who has the body for power. I mean, it's not like he's not a big, strong guy. He is. And if he's putting the ball in play really, really hard, all he really needs is a little more loft to his swing. All he really needs is a little more tilt and a little more ability to sort of catch that ball out front and really put a charge into it. And what is Drew Saylor really good at doing with hitters? That exact thing. Did it with Tyler Gentry. He did it with Nate Eaton. He's done it with a lot of guys. And if he can do that for Gavin Cross, then you're in great shape in terms of turning him into an elite hitter. I think that with the Cam Collier thing, they may have been scared off a little bit by the fact that he's 17, by the fact that there's probably less data on him than there is on somebody like Gavin Cross. Even though he's been out there, even though he's been seen, Gavin Cross is going to have as much data as there is playing in the ACC and things like that. I wonder if they were just let's take something that seems like a little bit more of a sure thing rather than wait on a guy, because you're going to be waiting on Cam Collier for 4 or 5 years probably. Whereas Cross, they probably think to themselves, 2-3 years, he could be in the big leagues.
Well, and Joel, I think the one thing with Cross, he wasn't one of the college guys with a lot of leverage. He's probably going to fall a little bit if he didn't go to number 9. Unlike Collier, you're probably not going to have to give him anything over slot. You're probably going to be able to give him a little bit under slot, just a little bit, to save money down the road. Do you think there's players down the board that would allow the Royals to do some fun things if they can save $400,000 on Gavin Cross at number 9?
I definitely think there is. I don't know who's going to be there, because if the Royals were picking at 35, I think we'd have a much better idea of who they could go with at that pick. But with that pick gone now, they're not picking for another 40 picks after they took Gavin Cross. So a lot can happen. I'm hoping maybe that an Ivan Melendez, I would still love that bat in the system. There's going to be plenty of options there at 49, but right now it's so tough to tell with the Royals not having that sandwich pick anymore.
In case you're tuning in just now, the Royals have selected Gavin Cross, an outfielder from Virginia Tech, the ass-kicking chicken.
Another left-handed bat, by the way.
Another left-handed
bat.
They got
all the left-handed bats.
Tons of left-handers, man.
And I think what the conclusion we've kind of come to, it's a good athlete with a good potential to hit for power, not getting to a lot of that in games yet. He's got a decent approach, and I think you can fast-track him. I think you can throw him in low A right now, if not high A. I mean, let's be honest. I think he could probably handle it.
He could go to Quad Cities. I mean, he'd be fine playing in Quad Cities, I think, especially with the high approach that he has. If you send him to Columbia right now, he's probably just going to destroy for a few weeks, and then you send him to Quad Cities. If you send him to Columbia and he doesn't destroy, then you better start talking about the mistake that somebody made. Yeah, I think they're. I don't think you'd be way off base sending him to Quad Cities.
You can see up on the screen, we've got our write-up from Jared Perkins on Gavin Cross. Jared lives out there on the East Coast. He's seen Gavin Cross in person. If you want to know more about what Jared thinks of Gavin, RoyalsFarmReport.com at the top of the screen. There's an article pinned up there with our draft guide link to it. It's $3.49. You can read the mock draft where we correctly predicted Gavin Cross to the Royals at number 9. You can read Jared's write-up on Gavin Cross, as well as get, I think, did you mention Cross in your wish list at all?
I did not. I dreamt on Brooks Lee falling to 9, which he barely did.
I told you he wasn't going to make it.
I'm never living that one down.
Really quick, don't forget the raffle that we've got going on, an Alex Gordon autographed jersey, a Bobby Witt Jr. autographed baseball, 4 lower-level tickets to a Royals game of your choice later this season. You can enter the raffle by Venmoing at KC Sports Network. $20 will give you 1 ticket. $100 will give you 8 tickets. And if you enter the raffle, we will draw tomorrow night the MLB Draft will probably be going on, but we're drawing tomorrow night for the winners. There'll be 3 different winners. So $20 gets you 1 ticket. $100 gets you 8 tickets. Joel, as we sit here now with Gavin Cross in the system, I think he can be here by 2024. I think he's a guy that should be in high A by some capacity by the end of this season. He probably starts there. He almost definitely starts there next year. So by the end of 2023, you're talking about a double-A approaching triple-A hitter. By 2024, we should be looking at Gavin Cross in a big league outfield. Is that timeline about where you've got him?
Yeah, that's about what I think. I think he's got an advanced enough approach, at least over the last couple of years, as that's gotten better. I can only imagine it's going to get better once he's able to get in there with Drew Saylor and others to really work on some things. But I think there's a legitimate chance that he's in Kansas City by 2024. And if that's the case, then you know that the Royals made a very good play here by going and getting this guy.
Does he remind you of anybody? Is there a big leaguer that you can comp him to for people who've never seen him play?
I'm not that good. I'm not that good at comps, to be honest with you, because I don't want to go too outlandish and give people a false sense of security. But you got a left-handed bat that hits the ball hard. Do with that what you will. Who's a really good athlete? Make your picks from there.
The comp that I didn't want to throw out there, because again, you talk about outlandish things, but just as a player he reminds me of is a little bit of Christian Yelich, where the tool set is good. It's borderline great. It's not elite. He hits the ball really hard. He doesn't lift it all the time. I know Christian Yelich had an MVP season, and I don't think Gavin Cross actually has that kind of upside. But just in terms of an athlete who might be able to fill in center field, probably not, might be able to be a Gold Glove right fielder, we'll see. But we'll see. I think Gavin Cross can be that type of player. Joel, I know you're busy and you're not able to join us tonight, but really quick before we have to get you out of here, is there a grade you would give the Royals on this pick right now before knowing what they do at 49?
Before knowing what they do at 49, I'd say this is a B+. It was a very safe pick. It was a good pick. I think you're getting a really top 5 guy in the system. I don't think he has the upside of some of the other college bats that were still available, but you're looking at a guy that I believe is a surefire big leaguer in some capacity. If he can stick in center field, then you're looking at an even better play potentially here. But you have a guy that is going to be a part of the future and a part of the next good Royals team.
Joel, I appreciate you, man. Have a great rest of your night. We will get your thoughts again soon. The entire draft guide team is getting together for a podcast on Tuesday night to break down the entire draft class. Joel will obviously be a part of that. It'll be me, Josh, Joel, Marcus, Drake, Jared, and maybe even Mason. So
we're going to invite Jacob. He designed the whole thing.
Jacob will be on. So we'll be on Tuesday to break down the entire draft class. But Joel, thanks for your thoughts on Cross. We'll see you soon, man.
You guys are killing it, man. Keep it up.
I wanted to throw out a comp, and I know we're talking a lot about this, and we would hopeful, but my hopes for him in terms of a comp, if they can unlock that power, how about a guy like Josh Reddick? How about that as a comp for him? A right fielder, the body type is similar. I think that if he could learn to if that bat plane changes a little bit, maybe he becomes Josh Reddick with his advanced approach, with his ability to throw. He can throw the ball pretty well in right field, with his ability to play a good right field. That seems like maybe the ceiling to me, but that is a pretty good ceiling for a guy.
What grade would you give this pick right now?
I would
Without
give
knowing what they do later.
I would give it a B. I'm a little bit lower than Joel, just because, and I agree with everything that Joel said. I'm just at 9 with the guys that they had on the board. I want you going high upside at 9 if you're the Royals. I want you going high upside bat. There was a high upside bat on that board, a really high upside bat, and they didn't take him. I think they're going to be compared to each other a long time, the same way Brady Singer and Nolan Gorman are compared to each other. I think that it's a B because of that, but it's not a bad pick in any way.
Mike?
Well, let me just start by saying Drake actually had a little bit of a comp that I thought was at least interesting. Think of an Alex Gordon with a better approach if Alex Gordon had come out as an outfielder, right? Now, he'll play right field instead of left field, but he's got the arm to play right field, whereas Gordon probably didn't have the arm. So that's interesting to me because they're both left-handed bats and things like that. The other thing I wanted to say, there wasn't really an option for a right-handed bat at this point. There isn't. Cam Collier's left-handed. Chase Young's left-handed. He's left-handed. Jacob Berry's left-handed. They're all left-handed at this point.
Jacob Berry's a switch hitter, I do believe.
Is he a switch hitter? Okay, so that would have been good. But no, we are 3 of the 4 of us are teachers, correct? I don't know. If
Nope, I'm not a teacher.
Okay, but
God
these
help us
2
if
are.
I was.
And I am. So 3 of the 4 of us are teachers, right? So we got grades. We can do grades, right? I'm going C+ for me. C+ for me.
That's low.
It is low because I don't think you're going to capitalize on any sort of ceiling for this guy. I think he makes the major leagues, and I don't think you ever think of him as a deficit, as a guy that hurts your lineup. But I also don't think you think of him. Here's a comp as far as production might go. I think at some point you might say, oh, he gives you similar production of a Hunter Dozier. Okay. And you're going, okay, well, is that what you want at the number 9 pick when Jace Young was on the board? When Cam Collier was on the board, when Jacob Berry was still on the board, when you had some of these really upside, one of those 3, especially if Jace Young does, but the Tigers taking him at 12, if he becomes the type of hitter that he might be able to become, it's a gut punch at some point, especially if Gavin Cross becomes an average or slightly above average producer at the major league level.
Josh, what would your grade for this pick be?
Yeah, basically B-. I'm kind of in the same boat here for the same reason. It seemed like there was still plenty of upside to be had. And this it sounds like the word of the day is safety, and it's a safe pick. And I said it at the beginning of the draft. I wanted upside. I wanted them to unlock some dude that had a few question marks and turn him into an absolute monster. And it doesn't sound like he's potentially going to be that, but he's still going to be a major league contributor. Maybe not as much as if somebody does unlock some of these upside guys. So we could be, ruining the day that we didn't take those guys, but still be okay with the production we do get. So I'm going B-.
I am going to reach a little bit, and I'm going to give the pick an A-, and even 90%.
Let's go.
Here's why.
I got to take Mr. Duvall's class, man. Jeez.
Right. Yeah.
Here's why I'm giving it.
He grades with the curve.
Yeah, that's right. No kidding.
Here's why I'm giving it an even 90%.
Every day's video day.
Especially Monday morning.
Social studies.
Hey, I'm a social studies teacher, my man. I got you.
Here's why I'm going with a 90, like a lowest A- possible, is I don't want to sound hypocritical, because the reason we've been talking about them not drafting a pitcher is because of the volatility involved drafting a pitcher.
Yep.
We have been begging them to go the safe route with a hitter. Now, I know within the group of hitters, you could ask for a little ceiling, because hitters in general have a higher floor than pitchers. But I've been begging them to stop drafting pitchers because they're so volatile. Their floors are so low. And so they took the hitter who epitomizes the reason we wanted them to stop drafting pitchers.
I like it.
So I'm okay with it. I am okay with taking the second highest floor in the entire draft class. The only other player in the entire draft with a better floor than Gavin Cross is Brooks Lee. Brooks Lee is a surefire big leaguer in my mind. He's a top 40 prospect in baseball. He's like a tooled up Nick Lofton, right? I think there's not a world in which Brooks Lee isn't a semi-productive big leaguer. Do we think there's a world where Gavin Cross isn't a big leaguer?
No, I think
for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And I think those exit velocities, if you're looking for that ray of hope that he could become something elite, it's in that exit velocity data. It's in seeing how hard he hits the ball. Because if you can hit the ball hard and somebody can then teach you how to loft it, you are a middle of the order bat. You are, you're Mike Massey. You're
Vinny Pasquantino.
You're Vinny Pasquantino. Only you can run. Right? That's the difference between Cross. And so between him and Cross or something like that. So if they can teach him how to get to that bat path that allows him to hit the ball in the air more consistently, with line drives more consistently, you're going to see a guy who maybe does have that potential to have been a higher pick than we even thought, right? Maybe who does have that potential that you always hoped Cam Collier would get to in 5 years when he's old enough to buy a beer,
Right.
and so, if you're looking for hope, that exit velocity data is that hope. And I think the Royals really do value stuff like that, because you see Drew Saylor turning guys into essentially exit velocity machines in AAA and AA right now.
Hashtag draft more hitters, and they've done that.
Yes.
I do want to point out, we keep talking about a lack of power, a lack of upside, and I want to be crystal clear about what we're talking about. A player who hits the ball as hard as Gavin Cross should not have only hit 17 home runs. That's how many he hit as a junior at Virginia Tech. He hit 11 as a sophomore. That's good. It's not great for a guy who hits the ball great. Where is the disconnect, right? What is the difference between Gavin Cross hitting 30 home runs and hitting 17? That is the, I don't even want to call it a concern. That is the difference between Gavin Cross going number 5 and number 9.
Yeah.
That is the difference between Gavin Cross being Brooks Lee or Adley Rutschman and being the number 9 overall pick. So if they can unlock it, the guy stole 12 bases and never got caught stealing at Virginia Tech this past year. He struck out 41 times and he walked 30. So it's almost an even 1-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio. His OPS was north of 1,000. There is clearly a player here that we can agree the Royals like for a good reason. The only question I think anybody has about it is, what is the upside? The reverse of this. If they drafted Cam Collier and we loved the pick because of the upside, and Cam Collier turned into Moose, a good, not great player, and Gavin Cross was an everyday guy, we'd be looking at this going, man, maybe they should have taken the safer pick. Maybe they should have gone the safer route in a year where they had to get the pick right. Last year, you take a bunch of prep arms. They had to get this right. And I think with Gavin Cross, the opportunity to get this wrong is almost zero.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think when you talk about hitting the ball hard, right? Like, what are some of the fundamental things you need as a hitter to be successful? One of the things you're looking at is hitting the ball hard. And you're talking about a player can do it because he's done it in college. There's a lot of data from him in the ACC. Yes, he didn't hit as many home runs as he should, and the ACC isn't the best conference in college baseball. It's a good one, but it's not the best one. He should have put out 25 balls in the ACC, and then you're talking about an elite hitting prospect. But if all you need to change is a guy's bat path, I think about Colton Keiser. He was a similar guy coming out a couple years ago. He wasn't fully developed physically. His bat path was way too flat. And if you can work on that, and that's the only thing you need to change, you might be in a great shape in a year when he's worked on that. And don't be surprised if he's putting out 25 by this point next year, or on pace for it this point next year in minor league baseball.
And for guys that don't know who Colton Keiser are, you can even look within our own system. Carter Jensen has a little bit too flat of a bat path,
right?
And he's turned himself into somebody who can really hit the ball out, or is starting to turn into that kind of player. So it looks like the Royals can do that with younger guys. That is the hope that in Gavin Cross, that you get just a little bit more loft to his swing, and you're looking at putting out 20 to 25 home runs in Major League Baseball.
That is a really good point about Carter Jensen. That is the exact type of comparison I was looking for. A guy with a flat bat path who hits the ever-loving crap out of the ball.
Yeah.
And now you bring him in your system. Hey, Carter, instead of hitting the ball there, we want you to hit it a little bit higher. And now Carter Jensen is an elite company in terms of power output and his walk rate. I tweeted it out a little bit ago that Carter Jensen's home runs and his walk rate has only ever been matched by like Tatis Jr. and like one other guy. And they're all really, really good. So really quick, we got to wrap things up here. We're approaching pick number 16. The draft is chugging right along. Mike, thank you for joining us.
Hey,
Marcus,
thanks
for joining us. I do also want to thank Jeff Ellis. I want to thank Joe Doyle and Jeff Ponce for joining us. Joel for calling in. I know he just got home from a trip. Thank you to everybody for joining us. This has been a lot of fun. B, we will certainly talk more about the draft class in depth as we get going on Tuesday. After the draft is ended, everybody meets back up for our roundtable recap of the 2022 draft class. The Royals have selected Gavin Cross with the 9th overall pick. Kamar Rocker shocked people by going number 3. So the draft didn't necessarily go the way we thought, but that is exactly who we mocked to the Royals at number 9 in the draft guide. That's exactly the way that fell. So if you want to know anything about baseball, what I'm saying is buy the draft guide.
You got it right. I mean, you got it right. You got 12 right. I mean,
that's all that really matters.
That's all that matters. So thanks again to you guys for joining us. Thanks again to Joe, Jeff, Joel.
Any more J names?
Jeff,
Josh,
Joel, Jeff.
Thank me.
Josh.
Thank you, Josh.
Joel.
Thanks,
yeah,
Tucker,
there's
for
a lot
coming
of
in
guys.
early. And
Yeah,
BJ and
Tucker showed up
BJ.
and then he dipped out.
Yeah.
Tucker's at a comedy show right now,
Oh, well.
getting his laughs in. So, but we appreciate Tucker. BJ's behind the computer over there, making everything possible.
Thank you to the Kingdom Bar and Grill as well.
The Kingdom Bar and Grill out
Absolutely.
here in Overland Park. Tickets for less. Drum Farm, Kansas City Strength and Conditioning. Thank you to everybody who has done made it possible to be here. We will be back. We're going to break down the 49th pick, but we've got like 25 more to go until we get there. So we'll
it's
figure
not
it out.
moving as fast as I thought it would go, so
No.
it may be a little bit.
It
but
may be a little bit.
We'll be there.